It's 6 o'clock. We'll call this organizational meeting to order. Everything about tonight's meeting is located at the beginning or the entrance into this room. And you can go to rockridgepublicschools.org to find that as well. It looks like tonight we have all board members are present. And item 2. We should do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Do it now.
We'll
Yeah,
do it now.
let's do it now.
Okay. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, it is in here. I see number 4. I missed it. I'm sorry. Okay. We have a full board tonight. All members are present. Can I get a motion on item 2? Can I get a motion to approve the organizational agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Moved by Reardon, supported by Lotiger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. At this time we'll elect a board chair. Okay, can I get nominations for chairperson?
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate Bill Addy as next year's chair.
Support.
Okay. Any nominations?
Actually, sorry.
No.
It's been a while.
Nominations? Nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. I'm your board chair for the next year. Thank you. Can I get item 3.2, election of the vice chair?
I will elect John Yuhan. I'll support.
Nominations for vice chair.
I'll accept the nomination.
Nominations? Nominations. Nominations are closed for vice chair. John, congratulations. Nomination 3.3, election of the clerk.
I'll nominate Lisa Westby.
I'll nominate Brandy Lotiger. Nominations for clerk. Nominations for clerk. Nominations for clerk. The nominations are now closed. We got it for a show of hands. Can I see those nominees? Can I see those in support of Brandy? Can I see those?
Oh,
in
you could have declined.
Oh, well,
Okay, all right.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, so by unanimous, Brandy, congratulations, you are the clerk. 3.4, election of the treasurer. Can I get nominations for treasurer?
I'll make a motion for Nicole Culver-Dahl.
Okay, nominations for treasurer.
I'll self-nominate myself for treasurer.
Nominations for, okay, so we got Nicole and Holly is going to nominate herself. Okay. Nominations for clerk, I'll say, our treasurer one more time. By a show of hands, can I see those in support of Nicole?
Oh, sorry, I was
Okay.
looking down.
By a show of hands, so that was 4. By a show of hands, can I see those now in support of Holly? Okay, so it's,
4-2,
4-2
is only 6.
I'm just gonna abstain, I
Right.
don't feel like
okay.
I should vote.
3.5, election of the alternate clerk. Can I
I
get-
would like to elect Tim Reardon.
Okay, so Tim as alternate clerk. Nominations for alternate clerk.
I'll nominate Lisa again.
Okay. Nominations for alternate clerk. We got Tim and Lisa. Last call for alternate clerk. Okay, by a show of hands, can I see those in support of Mr. Reardon? That's what, 4 or before those in support of Those in support of Ms. Westby?
And you abstain?
Yeah,
You
I'll
can vote for
abstain.
yourself.
All
You can
right, well,
abstain.
we'll just, okay. All right, moving on to organizational business, setting board members' salaries. Did everybody read what we are getting paid? We're getting paid for 2023, we got $250 a month with the vice chair receiving, $250 a month for each board member, $275 for the vice chair, $300 for the chair, and board members serving on negotiating committees receiving $50 for each session lasting up to 5 hours, and $100 for sessions more than 5 hours. Anybody have any questions in regards to that?
Well, I have a comment and maybe suggesting a change that a vice chair automatically getting the 275. I think when the vice chair actually steps in for the chair, maybe that would be more appropriate to give some added, added money, but just not automatically, because there's many, many times where, I think when you step in, you should get something, but otherwise you're just like a regular director.
Any discussion on that?
So I would make an amendment to that, or in the form of a motion, that when the vice chair steps up, that they would receive the difference between a regular board member and a chair for the difference of that prorated amount.
So, a chair is 300.
Yep.
So, Polly, is what you're suggesting is that when John steps up to be the chair, when Bill is gone, that he gets the extra 50?
That he gets 300?
Instead of,
That's a month, it just depends, I would go by each meeting, prorated for each meeting. So if it was 50, that'd be $25 more for one meeting, right? Unless it's a special meeting.
So if he was to get, so you're saying that the vice chair
275.
is 275 right now?
Right.
So the vice chair should get like 250 until he steps in?
Right, because
Okay.
that's the
And then he
same.
would get 300?
No, that would be a month. 300 is per month, not per
Yeah.
meeting. I was just
That's
saying.
right, okay.
Seems like a lot of extra
That would
stuff
be
for
a-
the payroll.
To me, that would be a nightmare for
I agree, and I
our
will-
accounting
And it's
department.
probably gonna work out anyways.
Well, for accounting purposes, it would be $250 a month, and John, I think maybe you stepped up 2 times last year,
Yep.
the chair, so it would be the same as a regular board stipend, except for 2 times, which would be another $25. It would be, it's no different than all of the time at the negotiating committee. Is that not a nightmare? $50 up to 5 hours and $100 for 5 or more. I mean, all of your
That's true.
negotiating sessions are different. So I don't see.
We turn those in once a time. We don't turn them in every.
We only the negotiating turns in only one time, and it's at the end of the session for each one,
Well,
so.
then the vice chair could turn it in at the end of the year too.
So I mean, you look around at all the other school districts, I mean, I can tell that we're grossly underpaid as chair people.
I agree with that.
We're grossly underpaid.
Do you know what the normal pay is? Have you looked into it or?
There was 13 of us, now there's only 7. I
Right.
think we are under.
Yeah, I mean, there was, 13 of us at one time, and, now there's only 7, and I mean,
I don't see it that way. A typical board's always 6 or 7 members anyway. We just had an anomaly when we had 12 and 13 members, or 7 and 9 or whatever. And so we're no different than any other board. And I don't think that board members should be on the board to make money or to say we're being paid low or high. I'd do it for nothing, just as my public service, but
I did look into it a couple of years ago, and at that time, and we were earning less, we were like the lowest paid board around the range.
right.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we leave
I already made a motion. I didn't get a
but it didn't
second.
get a second.
Is there any second? You didn't call for a second.
So we got a motion by Polly for the vice chair to receive $250 a month as a regular board member, and you get 275 if you stepped in. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So we got motion by Sorkin, support by Westby. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I could support that. So there's 3 of us.
So motion fails 4-3. Okay, and then Tim, your motion.
I'll make a motion that we keep the board members' pay the same for 2024 as it was in 2023.
We got a motion by Director Reardon. You support? We keep it the same? Support? I'll support it. But on the discussion, any discussion on this?
Is there anybody, I mean, are you guys thinking that you want to increase
I think we should get a raise.
Yeah.
Not a
salary?
lot, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I would like,
I would like an increase.
Nominal. A lot of hours, a lot of meetings, like we're underpaid by comparison to the districts in the region. It'll maybe attract more candidates in future elections.
Well, I hope people don't run.
You never know.
I hope they don't. I mean, I think that's not the right reason personally.
I'm kind of with Polly. I would keep it the same myself.
I think there's a lot of hours, a lot of time, more
There
than I
is.
had ever imagined. And I think someone coming into it, someone like me, who, you live paycheck by paycheck, yeah, it's still, even if we raise it, it's still nothing.
Comparatively speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
When gas is everything's so expensive now. And we're in.
Somebody
lots of
amend it
meetings.
then.
What would you guys propose?
Honestly, I hadn't thought about it. Did anyone else have an opinion? At least by just moving up at least $25 a month. I mean, I'm not looking for a huge increase or anything.
I was thinking $50 a month, extra, 25 extra.
Right across the board for everybody?
Yeah.
A month?
So amended by Yuhan.
I'll read
Who's
that.
amending?
I'll amend it.
I'll retract my
Well, we've
motion.
got two numbers now. We've got 25 and we've got 50. Whose is the one that is the amendment? He had two suggestions.
John said he amended it at $50
Yeah.
more per.
Per board
Per
member.
month, yeah.
I was having a discussion. I didn't ask for,
I thought you recommended 25.
I said I hadn't thought about it really, and I don't really have a strong
Retract my
opinion
motion
on it.
Or support.
Well, he could, that's fine. If you want to do it that way, that's fine with me. I'll support John then,
Okay,
just to move this along.
okay. So we got a motion by, no, wait, we have a motion by Mr. Reardon to keep it the same. Okay,
You retracted your
Retracted.
second, and I said, fine, I will support John's
okay, all right. So we got
$50.
motion by Director Reardon.
No,
No, I mean
motion.
support, you got motion by excuse me,
Yeah, by me.
Director Yuhan. You got support by Director Reardon to raise it $50 per person per month.
So would that make,
That would make board
300,
members 300. It would make the vice chair 325, and it would make the chair 350 per month. Okay. Any more discussion on that?
I think that we just raised it $50. Used to be 200, we're up to 250, now we're up to
The
300.
same since I've been on it, 5 years.
Well, I can't remember when, but it didn't seem that long ago.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Who are the noes? So it passed 5-2.
I was-
5-2. Okay, moving along, 4.2, Columbus Day is not a school holiday. Approval of Columbus Day is not a school holiday.
Make the motion.
Motion by Yuhan. Or is it it's not a holiday now, is it?
No. It's a vote every year.
Yeah, I remember that, I just don't know.
Support.
Support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion?
So why don't you explain this, Noel, that Columbus Day is not Columbus Day anymore? It's Indigenous Peoples' Day?
It still is Columbus Day.
Is it?
It depends who you are and what your viewpoint is. So
Why don't you
Columbus
explain
Day, it's one of these holidays that could be a holiday or not be a holiday. You, as a board, simply have to say it is a school holiday here or it is not a school holiday here. And then that's what happens.
What day is that?
The 14th of October.
So,
October says it's Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples' Day, however you want to take it, I guess.
so I guess I didn't understand you. It is or it isn't changed.
You get to
Statutory.
decide for the Rockford
Whether or
School
not it's a
District
holiday.
whether it is a school holiday or not.
Okay, but not just the name of it, whether it's named Columbus Day
No.
or Indigenous.
Just whether it is a school
So
holiday.
now it's not Columbus Day, it's Indigenous Day?
No, it's both. It's both.
I guess
We
I-
just happen to call it Columbus Day.
I don't know.
Our decision here is just whether or not it's a holiday for the
Right,
school.
yeah, we're not
And it
bringing
is
one
called
name.
Columbus Day.
Okay, so 4.2, we're just whether
We
It's
have a
it's
motion to approve that, so.
And support.
and support. Are you done, Miss?
Yeah.
Paul? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
So, who said no?
Lisa.
Lisa.
Okay, so it's 6-1. Okay. 4.3, set the regular board meeting dates and times. Can I get a motion?
I will move.
A motion by Director Colbert-Dahl, support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So,
I have a question related to this before we move on. As part of the statute, it says, as part of its observance of Indigenous Peoples' Day, a district may provide for professional development to teachers and staff or instruction to students on the following topics. So it says may. Is that something we're going to decide that we're going to do or not do? We may provide.
for the Native Americans, we
For
provide what?
Indigenous People Day.
I think we've passed that, and I think
Yeah.
that's a different that's not part of what we've just been doing.
Right, that's,
Well, I know, but it's part of the statute that was referred to.
But that's not what we're voting on.
Well, all right. Well, I'll bring it up then when it comes.
Right, you may
Right.
tell the teachers to do something on that day. You have some other laws that the state of Minnesota says we as teachers do need to teach certain topics. That is one of the topics teachers do teach during the course of the school year.
So is it a board decision or a teacher decision?
If there's a certain specific day you want something to happen, yes, you could tell us that on this day, we want everybody in the district teaching and learning this. Otherwise, we'll make decisions on where it should probably best be taught during the course of the school year.
Director Hattie, we
Yes.
digress. It doesn't have anything to do with what we're voting on in our organizational meeting.
that's right. Okay, thank you. 4.4, approval of,
You didn't take a vote on the regular board?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we
yeah, we
did.
did,
Oh, did we?
Yep.
passed unanimously.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Thank you.
4.4 is 4.4 is to approve the mileage at 67 cents per mile.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion by Director Potiger, support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 4.5, designate school deposit. I said that wrong last time.
Depositories.
Yeah. Friends and Bank Trust, and, well, you can read it.
Ms. Lab, yeah,
Okay, can I get a motion to approve 4.5?
so moved.
Second.
4.5, moved by Director Reardon, support by
Culbertall
Covered up.
or
Okay, all
Lisa,
right.
whatever you
I-
want to say.
No, I heard something over here, I didn't know who said it. Any discussion?
Yeah, I ask this all the time, but I don't know that we really know. So for our local banks as depositories, how do we split up the amount of money that we do business with each one of them for? Is it pretty much equal or is it?
We try to distribute it so it's fairly equal amongst all of them. It's not always equal, however, because we have multiple different accounts, but we try and split it up. So we don't, it's not like one has 95% and then the other two have 2% or something like that.
And then for any of the banks that we have savings with, that would generate interest, but the others, like just for checking or for writing paychecks and stuff, there's no interest involved for that bank, for there, right?
That's not always true with what we do.
I'm asking, yeah.
Because we do have some accounts where there's money there that you do get interest on. And we are drawing from that account also. Which would be the same thing as checking with interest, as we as citizens would know.
Okay. I always ask it, just hoping that it's equally distributed as much as we can among our local banks, Virginia, Evelyn, and, well, not Evelyn anymore, but.
Right? And that's why the names you see there are what they are.
I know, but it's always the amounts, if the amount is comparable to. All right, that's all.
Can I get a motion to approve 4.5? Okay, excuse me.
Reardon and Culver.
Okay, Reardon, Culver, and Dahl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstained.
Motion passes Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. John abstained. Okay, 4.6, authorize the hiring of the school attorney. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger,
Support you
support
on.
by Director Yuhan. Any discussion?
I do, on those occasions where we have a local Colosimo Patch and Kearney, and then if we are having any legal business with any of some of the local cities and municipalities, they oftentimes have that too, have the same one. And so when that happens, I'm hoping that the direction is that we don't have the same attorneys for municipalities and the school district.
And you probably noted you have a perfect example of that in your board packet coming up where that is happening. And if you choose to go that route, which you can do, you simply have to acknowledge that that's the case, that the lawyer is doing dual representation. That sometimes happens in smaller towns.
Right, that's a special agreement, but other than that, and you're right, there's a perfect example of it, but we make a conscious decision to or not to do that.
It's pretty rare that we try and, if we know the city is using a certain attorney, we usually try to do a different one, so there's no perceived conflict of interest.
Now, like say, for example, the city of Evelyn uses the Colosimo Patchen one, and we're doing some business with them as far as schools, the school buildings and the buying and the selling. And in that situation, I don't know if we've already had the same attorneys represent us on those or not. So that's one of my examples of concern.
I believe they're different in this case.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Yuhan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 4.7, consider establishing the legal newspaper. Can I get a motion for 4.7?
I'll make a motion for the
I'll second.
Masaba Daily News.
Motion by Director Reardon, support by Westby. Any discussion?
I'm curious, it doesn't say like the hometown focus, how, like, where they, the publication goes, because I know,
We use both,
right.
but you have to have
I'm just wondering though, like as far as how far they deliver or whatever, I know that Wasabi Tribune is posted all over, just.
I think the hometown focus has more circulation, being it's a free paper, but it's weekly. That's the
Yeah,
only,
okay, right.
So. Any more discussion on 4.7? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 4.8. Consider authorizing the business manager and superintendent to make electronic fund transfers. You get a motion.
Make a motion.
Director Yuhan, support by Director Addy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 4.9, consider authorizing the business manager to use current signature plate until the new plate is secured if necessary. Motion by Director Addy.
Support.
Support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 410, consider authorizing school board members to attend in-state meetings. Any motion?
Mike can make the motion.
Is that?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan.
Support.
Support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 411, consider authorizing the superintendent to approve in-state travel requirements of employees during the school year.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger,
Support.
support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think that, I don't see why that could not and should not come to the board also, because ultimately, the board, it's our duty to approve any expenditures. So even though superintendent would be recommending such a thing, and even on our agenda today, later on, some recommendations, when it's expending of money like that, I think it ultimately should pass through the school board, just because we're fiscal managers of the district.
Well, you are, but that's also why you hire people like me to take care of the smaller details like this. You can certainly tell me you want everything brought to you, but if somebody wants to go to Menards and they have to drive a mile to get there, we can't do it unless I go to the board and ask for
No,
permission from the
I
board.
wasn't micromanaging.
I know,
It
but if
says
you- if you-
in-state travel, it says, come on.
Going
You know
to
I
Menard-
didn't.
I know, but this is how it turns into. I would prefer that you didn't set those restrictions, because coaches, when they're going to coaching workshops, basketball teams makes it to state. I mean, do you want to have a special meeting to us to give permission for the coaches to go to the state basketball tournament?
I didn't say that about special meetings or anything, but in-state travel of employees. Travel outstate, well, that's out of state, yeah, that always has to come to the board, but exception would be athletic activities in northwestern Wisconsin. That's my input. I just think it should, whether we, it's a recommendation and just flows through our consent agenda, like a lot of other things, that's all I'm suggesting.
Okay, all those in favor of support, or of 411, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 412, consider authorizing the superintendent to employ additional instructional, library, maintenance, and clerical assistants as will become necessary.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Reardon,
Support.
support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion?
Yes. Did we have library in there in the last year? It seems to me that instructional, maintenance, and clerical,
I do believe we did.
okay, that should become necessary. And again, I think that should ultimately flow through the school board. When I asked, if it were just for temporary positions, like, when we have somebody on leave or somebody gets sick or whatever. Now, that's what I understood at the last time I voted for this, that this would be temporary. But this seems to read that these would be permanent positions that would be filled by the superintendent.
Well, what I can tell you is that we don't add permanent employees without every single one going to the school board. I only use this if we need something done in a hurry and we need to hire someone for a short term. I've never used this ever to hire someone without the board ultimately approving it.
Should we make an amendment saying short term?
That would satisfy me, because I've had the same concern over and over again.
That seems reasonable.
Has been authorized to employ additional instructional, library maintenance, and clerical assistance as needed.
Because I do believe it does come before the board, so it's not, we could just make it short term or temporary. with a
Temporary
wording
until it
and
can be-
amendment. I propose that.
If you make that as an amendment, I'll support it.
So we got an amendment to, and you want to add a word into
Yeah,
here?
just say, consider authorizing to employ additional
Temporary.
/ short term.
Additional temporary, okay. So what does this do for somebody that we hire then? I mean, does then it come to the board?
We
for long-term?
we're authorizing him to do that.
Right, but this could be perceived differently. Here's how it'll happen. Principals make a recommendation to hire a teacher from another state or another school at the end of August. That teacher doesn't want to accept a position until they know they've got a job with the Rockridge School Board. So we usually start that person, and everybody knows that the board is going to approve them. This could make some employees skitterish and not want to work until they know for sure.
Or a full-time
But when they
employee?
won't know for sure anyway, that's the board's job to
Right.
approve it. So why would we even approve it if that's a for sure thing? Why go through the motion?
Well, I know, but I'm just telling you.
I'm just saying,
how
like-
people think from other districts, because they will see the word short-term. And in their mind, they're thinking, hey, I'm gonna work there forever. This guy can only hire me for short-term. The board could,
Pending, well, you could write pending,
Board approval.
which is
Well,
what
just
we're doing
Yeah.
yeah,
all the time
Full-time
anyway.
position.
Can you?
just,
Yeah, can
send just short-term, temporary, pending board approval. I think
Perfect.
you're good.
All right.
You know, as you need, we'll just have to explain that to employees if we
Right.
get to that point.
So,
It's nothing different than we're already doing.
Right.
It's just the wording.
Right,
Because we have hirings on every,
okay, so
yep.
we have an amendment by Albert Dahl to add wording to that. How would you want that worded?
Temporary short.
Temporary short-term.
Until board approval?
Right.
Okay, so hopefully somebody's writing that down.
after.
Or you could just say pending board
Board
approval. You could
If
just
we
say
already,
that.
if we already know everything comes to the board and it's just a matter of wording, I don't understand why we.
Well, because
add
he's
the
saying
word.
that they're basically hired, and that doesn't really matter what we say. That's what I'm getting from it.
By the
Like,
wording.
yeah, by the wording, and if it's in there, then it's just clear. That's what happens. And I feel like everybody knows that anyway, but now we're just clear.
Because a lot of times we'll get, somebody got hired on the 10th of December, and as of the 10th of December, they're a para, and our meeting is on the 14th or whatever. The hiring has already been done. So it just clears it up.
It
Like
really is not an
Like mud.
I think it clears it perfectly.
Who supported
actually.
that amendment?
I did.
Okay. Okay. So, an amendment to just change the wording. Okay.
After the word employ, and then you add those. Authorizing the
Until board
superintendent to
approval.
employ
Okay.
temporary short-term.
All those in favor of signifying that amendment, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. Aye. Aye.
4-3.
I
So the
oppose.
motion fails 4-3.
No, it passes 4-3.
No,
That was just the amendment. We didn't vote on
We
the,
voted on the amendment.
That's the amendment first, correct?
so the
Okay,
amendment
To change,
failed.
the amendment failed, so now we're back
Let's do a
to,
roll call, please.
okay,
On the
All
amendment.
those-
on the amendment. So
On the amendment.
Amendment that Nicole mentioned and Polly supported.
okay. In supporting of the amendment, supporting of the motion by Colbert Dahl, all those, okay. Tim Reardon, will you support it?
No.
Lotiger,
No,
Westby,
Yes.
Huhan.
No.
Addie's a no.
Yes.
Lisa's a yes.
Lisa's a
Colbert Dahl's a yes, and Sorkin,
Yes.
you're a yes. So
I
the-
just thought I heard you say yes before. That's
Okay,
all.
so the amendment fails. All those in favor, so we got a motion by Reardon and support by Huhan to leave item 412 as is. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
no.
Motion passes 4-3. Okay, moving along. But that is a good point though you brought up. It is a good point. You know,
That was my point that I brought.
Well, you both got it out. I just get caught.
alrighty, moving along to 413, consider resolution directing the administrative to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore. This is a roll call vote. Okay,
I'll make that motion.
it's a roll call, okay,
You have to
so,
make a motion and a.
yeah, motion by Director Reardon, support by Director Addy. Okay, with a roll call,
I have a discussion.
no discussion. Okay,
So I know that this comes up every year, but I'm not really understanding it this time because do we even know if we need to make cuts? We haven't had a budget meeting, we haven't had the auditor's report. And so if we're calling for reductions and possibly eliminating people because of enrollment, maybe our enrollment is up, maybe our enrollment is down. We don't know, but you have to do this by a certain period of time. Is it like the levy or you can't do it at all? Because we don't know if we need to make reductions.
No, and this is separate from what you're bringing up. This is just, you are directing us to make recommendations if we do need to make reductions in programs. This is not saying we are making reductions.
It's boilerplate. It's-
yeah,
It's all school boards in Minnesota
Well,
usually approve this.
I know that, it's not making sense to me after how many years of doing this, but it says, whereas the financial conditions are such that the board must reduce expenditures immediately, and, okay, and,
But we approve it once the
Recommendation
administration
is made.
staff tells us what their opinion is. We can either deny it or approve it. So we are the final say.
yeah, well,
We're just letting the people that are running the school for us tell us what they think.
does this have to do sometimes with when the laying off teachers for the summer and stuff like that, or are we?
Yes, it has, yes, it could do that. It's basically, do you want to hear what the teachers, principals, and admin think about if we do need to make recommendation? If you don't, then say, no, we don't want to consider what administrative recommendations might. We want to figure it out all by ourselves.
then maybe the wording should be changed, because it says, whereas the financial condition of the school district dictates that the school board must reduce expenditures immediately. We don't know that. If this is just perfunctory, but
But the thing is.
That's what it says.
We can't cut a teacher immediately.
anyway, it's just how it's worded, maybe.
All it says that I see make recommendations to
Yeah.
the school board. That's the bottom line.
Right,
It's a roll call.
okay, so roll call vote. Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
Director
Yes.
Westby,
Yes.
Director Yuhan.
Yes.
Director Addy, yes. Director Colbert Dahl.
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
No,
No, motion passes. Okay, 4.14, approval of the Education, Identity, and Access Management Board Resolution naming Dr. Noel Schmidt as the identified official with authority for Rockridge Public Schools.
Make that motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger, support by Colbert Dahl. Any discussion? Roll call. Director Reardon.
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
Director Westby.
Yes.
Director Yuhan.
Yes.
Director Addy's a yes. Director Colbert Dahl.
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. 4.15, consider designating Dr. Noel Schmidt as responsible authority under the Minnesota Data Practices Act and the Open Meeting Law for 2024.
So moved.
Moved by Director Reardon, support
I'll
by,
support that.
support by Director Yuan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 4.16, committee memberships. Attaches there should have been a piece of paper that you can fill out. Committee membership attaches I don't even think you have to vote on that. That's just information.
We approve it after.
Okay, well, 4.16, approve committee memberships.
well, I see a difference between 23 and 24. We have a rec board now, and we didn't have the rec board up for 2023. So that's been added, right? Do we even have
There's no record.
Yeah.
So we don't even have a rec board.
Who's the rec
anymore.
board?
Well, you have the policy committee is making some recommendations to the full board on an upcoming policy you're gonna talk about, just to make these committees line up with what they really are here in Rock Ridge. So you have some committees where the wording is a little different than some in your current policy, but you haven't actually passed that policy yet. So you're kind of where you are with the current wording and the names you're calling the committees until you change that policy.
But we don't have a recreation board.
Well, it's not called that, but within community ed, they do meet, and we do have some folks who talk, but whether you want to put a board member on that, you don't have to. Just because a committee is there doesn't mean you have to have a rep. So that's a committee that doesn't meet very much. But I don't want to deny any of you a committee if you want to start a committee with the rec committee, for example, and join one.
We did not have a recreation board, school board member, committee member last year. That was not one of our committees.
Well, it's up to you to decide.
Well, I just wondered why
What
it
your
was stuck in
committees
there,
are.
and we didn't have it last time, and now it's in there. Maybe you're just recommending that we have a board member on a rec board, which I don't know that we have a rec board. So that's still confusing to me. And that's one of our new committees on the 2024 school board committee roster. That's a question I have. Okay, and then,
What did you just ask?
and there was discussion of whether that should be more of a committee like our other ones with 3 people. And actually, in the former Evelyn Gilbert district, it wasn't just 1 person or 3 people, it was, the full board could go, and I think the full board should go to hear all of the, maybe confer concerns of the teachers. And
I agree.
so whether it's 3 people or the full board, I mean, a full board, we can go sit and listen anyway if we don't take part in it, but maybe that should be a full board committee. That would make it a special committee, so we all hear what the teachers', concerns are. And that, I had asked Brandy, for you and John, maybe to give an update on your committees, little bit later on, because your committees have one. And then, so that one I'd like a little more discussion on. And the Family Services Collaborative, I see there's school principals, and I used to be on it, and there's some other board members. There used to be board members on that, but now it's been changed to school principals. I remember that when Lisa Perkovich, when we combined, I was one of the reps and Lisa was one of the reps. So I gave up my seat so she could have a seat, because then we were Rock Ridge. And so maybe that's when it changed to having an administrator and a principal, but before that, traditionally it was a board member on that.
No one's,
Family Services
no one's
Committee.
denying you to be on any committee, but what's really making me uncomfortable, and I'm just gonna say this, that we got a pending lawsuit regarding our district in regards to committee assignments, and I just feel uncomfortable talking about
That has
this.
nothing to do with it.
To
Those are
me
two
it
separate
does.
issues. I can separate myself. I don't know why you can't.
We're having all this discussion and my motion hasn't even been seconded, and so.
To approve committees.
Yeah.
I'll support. I would agree with the meet and confer that, not that the whole board should be part of the meet and confer. I don't think we necessarily need that, but another second person, I think, would be appropriate, just like other committees. We have, typically 2 board members on, so I could support having an additional person on meet and confer. But what I do think should happen going forward, I do think that we should get updates. I think we should have more working sessions than what we've had.
Agreed.
I think that we need to have more working sessions to update, have those updates on the different committees. And then also to have working sessions as well in regard to negotiation stuff too.
Agreed.
That's what I'd like to see.
Agree. I would just say for the meet and confer, like, there's 2 spots open. If, I think someone else should be added, and if third person wants to do it, then I think we should have that.
And along those lines of working sessions, I agree with that. And I've suggested last year and maybe the year before that Budget and Finance be committee of the whole and not just a couple of people, because that is one of our most important jobs as board members, and I think we should be having more workshops, meetings, in-depth budget and finance meetings. If anybody's been following the Virginia City Council, they've put lots of time, and they are trying to understand their finances as well as they can, and they're taking a real active part. And I think that's our job too as a school board. So, you know, it has nothing to do with any lawsuit bill. I've said it before. Budget and finance, I would love to turn that one in with the support of the
Last
rest of the
Budget and
board.
Finance Committee, you didn't show up at, it was me by myself.
There was a mix-up that time, remember?
But, yeah.
It was a different day. I came the next day, and it was the day before.
I actually
So don't go there, John.
No, Lisa was on that too, and she wasn't there. It was me. How did I know?
Can I just say that I don't think that really matters? It's not pertinent. Because I'm not on it, and I do think it might be a good idea to have, you know, a committee of the whole. That is an
Budget and
important
finance.
topic, and it is hard to understand, and we get limited information. So maybe we don't, the committee as a whole doesn't have to meet every time, but, you know, I really agree with you that more working sessions are in order.
And working sessions are the full board, so you can call it a working session
Oh, there you
or a
go.
full board.
Yeah,
So it's gonna
whatever.
be the same, yeah. And John, I don't appreciate that date.
Can we move on from that?
So we've got a list of committees here now, but what are our decisions about some of the suggested changes?
Did somebody second my motion?
I supported.
Oh,
Yeah, you're right.
so we're gonna fill it out individually, send it to you, and you'll make the decision and either come to the full board, and if somebody wants to
Move them, shuffle
move
around a
them
little
around,
bit.
we'll move them around.
With the exception, in my opinion, of the negotiating committee, because we have a pending
Yeah.
upcoming, I think that should remain the same, because we've already been
Yeah.
into it, and I think we should, at least that one should stay as is going forward for this year anyways.
And
So
the
you can-
board chair ultimately assigns committees.
So can we have
It's on
that,
our
can we approve that one tonight, so we can have that meeting
wishes.
without
So that would be.
issue?
That would be the,
Well, now you're making an amendment to
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'll make an amendment that we approve the negotiating committee as it was in 23 to keep the negotiations going.
with ASME only, because
Yeah.
the teachers are done.
You're right.
I'll support that.
Okay, so that would be, ASME would be John, Kim, and Bill. So you can write that in there.
Let's vote on that amendment first.
Well, I'm just telling you to fill it in. Okay, so the amendment is to keep the ASME negotiations on the committees as is, as last year per John, that was your amendment? Okay, motion by, support by Addie. Who supported that?
That's
Was it
Polly.
Brendan?
I did.
Okay, Polly?
Shouldn't it just be negotiation, because there will be the hourly and, won't there, Noel?
Administration and teachers, when does
Yeah,
that go on?
there's, soon. Well, the admin will up, you're done with teachers, you have two left,
Yeah.
two groups.
So just keep the negotiating,
That's do both of them. That's how we do.
Admin and, okay,
just for negotiating this year.
Ask me.
the ASME and,
And
And admin?
it would be the admin, it'd be, the teachers are done.
Teachers are done, so it's really just admin, but you still have Ask Me.
Okay, so we got that motion by Yuan, support by Director Sorkin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now, we're gonna approve the committee,
Now I have another amendment.
right?
Well, if John could make one, I could make one.
Okay.
That Budget and Finance be committee of the whole.
So we got a motion by Director Sorkin,
I second that.
second by Director Westby, to make the Budget and Finance as a committee of the whole. All those in favor signify.
can we have discussion on that?
Yes, yes.
Noel, how frequently does the Budget and Finance Committee meet?
Typically 4-5 times a year. And typically between now and March, they might meet 2 or 3 times.
What time of day?
It depends when they're able to meet. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's at 3:30. And we can easily turn them into
Special meetings on the.
meetings, but they're gonna be probably 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock meetings. And we certainly can do that. You just tell me what you wanna do. But you just need to understand, you're giving yourselves more meetings.
Well, they could be just like our regular meetings here, 6 o'clock, and
Attend if you are able.
Yeah,
Attend if you are able.
because if we have workshops,
yeah.
if we turn them into workshops, extra workshops, we're gonna have an extra meeting anyway. We've got 2 meetings a month. And if you say a workshop, then that's a special meeting, and that's gonna be another meeting. So whether it's a committee of the whole extra meeting or a workshop, special meeting, means the same.
So blend in the finance, budget and finance into the workshop meeting mode, which could be a 5 o'clock meeting before a 6 o'clock meeting.
The budget and finance would probably need a lot more time than that. So,
But 5 times a year, as a committee of the whole, I don't think it's all that many times. I mean, that's,
so we got,
yeah, I don't think that's
I
many.
mean, and attend if you, attend if you're able, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. That's how I look at it. So we got motion by Director Sorkin, support by Director Westby to make the budget and finance a committee of the whole. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
At 5-2?
Where'd you vote? I didn't hear you vote.
5-2?
She must have been one of the ayes.
I did.
Okay.
If I
Pay attention, Polly.
No, I didn't hear you. I'm right.
5-2.
A lot of times I don't hear your vote.
Perfect.
All right.
And one more amendment.
We already voted on the committee memberships. Oh, no, that was the amendment.
Those
Excuse
are all
me.
amendments.
All right.
And then, again, are we just going to have like a gentleman's agreement that labor management is going to be more than one person?
Meet and confer.
Labor, yeah, meeting.
That's what I
confer.
meant.
Yeah,
Well, that's
Yeah,
what it's.
meet and confer.
yeah.
Well, meet and confer, you got,
It's one committee, labor management, meet, confer.
They just have one board member, and I think we thought maybe 2, and if 3 people really want it or whatever.
I just say, why not like the other ones,
Right.
three members for meet, confer.
meet and confer, it looks like you got
Just
labor
meet.
management and meet and confer. I
Yeah,
mean, it
tell
looks
me.
like there's 4 members. You could have.
Oh, if you look
four
at here,
members.
it's easier. If you look on this, it's.
Yeah, you could have up to.
Yeah, but the new one is,
I think-
that's old and the new
I
one
think
is,
having more than one is
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, we can have up to
Okay,
3 with
somebody
an
said-
alternate. I mean, you gotta be careful, you don't go over. I don't know why the 4th member is on there, because then now you're into an open meeting law, potential violation.
I just ignore that column. But clarification, labor management, did we ever have any specific labor management meetings? Okay, should we just scratch labor management and just say meet and confer? Because I don't think we ever had labor management,
I think
right?
that's reasonable.
Right, so that'd be part of my.
So you got a motion by Director Sorkin to scratch labor management and just have it meet and confer.
With 3
2
people.
more, or 3 more, or
3 people.
For 3 people, I mean.
I'll second that.
So we got motion by Sorkin, support by Westby. More discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passes. I didn't vote, so it'd be 6-0. Okay, all right,
Now we gotta, these are all amendments. Now you gotta vote on the motion.
okay, all right. Yeah, see?
So are you abstaining there, Bill, or what?
Yeah, I just don't want to vote. Just if you like.
Just say abstention, I just wanted to
Yeah, just don't want to vote.
abstain, okay.
Yeah. Okay, 416, can we approve it? 416, we got a motion by Director Ridden, support by Director Lotiger to approve 4.16. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes
Can you
unanimously.
read that back to me, how it's gonna be worded? Just kidding.
Well. Okay, item 5.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the organizational
I'll
meeting.
second.
Motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Culver-Dahl to adjourn the regular meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, we'll call, do you want to take a little break first before we get into our regular meeting?
No.
Okay, all right. Item
I'm
6, call the order of the regular meeting. Item 7, approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Okay, we got a motion by Director Lotiger. Lotiger, support by Director Johan. Okay, is there any discussion? Is there anything that wants to be added at this time to the agenda? I know that this would be the right time to take that off, right? 9.7?
Yep,
Okay, so 9.7 on your meeting, 9.7, right at the bottom, okay? Acceptance of resignation, okay? That has been pulled, I guess. Mr. Voss, the person is gonna stay employed with us?
Yes.
Okay,
Just pull it.
you just pull it, that's all you need to know, so just take that one out. Okay, we got a motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Johan. Any more discussion on the agenda?
What, on the consent agenda?
Yes.
that's
when we
the-
make
the
this
regular
the
agenda.
It's just the regular agenda.
Oh, sure, okay.
Okay, any
Yeah,
discussion?
yeah, well, just because you pulled 9.7, you were talking about the consent agenda.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving along to,
Visitors.
huh?
Visitor input.
Visitors.
Oh, visitor. Oh, it's busy there. Thank you. Do you have any it doesn't look like we had any visitor input. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak? Okay, all right. Moving along. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make the motion.
Okay, with the amendment, with 9.7 removed, John?
Yeah.
Okay,
Support.
okay, we got a motion by Director Johan, supported by Director Lotiger.
And I have some questions.
Okay, any discussion?
9.8, 9.9,
9.8, 9.9.
maybe 10 and.
Okay, hang on. 9.8, 9.9, and 10. Is this for discussion?
For discussion.
Okay, all right. And what else?
9.
8, 9, 10 so far.
11.
11.
All right, that's it.
Okay. So can we discuss these now before we approve the agenda?
Sure.
Okay.
So 9.8 and 9.9, those look like full-time positions. One is a custodial general maintenance grounds driver position, and the other is secondary special education teacher. My question will be, is we intend to post and advertise and replace these people resigning because of retirement?
for 9.8, the answer is yes.
Okay?
For 9.9, because that position is continuing for the rest of the school year, we're not to the point where we need to post that specific position right now. But it could be posted sometime this spring, yes.
Okay, we don't know if we'll need us to replace a special education secondary teacher.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're good on 9.8 and 9.9, Polly?
Yeah,
Okay.
and 10, is that totally paid for by the PNC grant?
You're
The,
100% correct.
to the Montana Summer Institute? Okay, and I noticed that there's some different names than who went last year. Is there a reason for different people going and, let's see.
Yes, we want to spread the love. We want to spread the opportunity for people, other people to experience these things.
All right,
Absolutely.
I'll write that down, spread the love. Spread the love. So I just wondered, does this have something to do with, like maybe their leadership roles or their, what's the word I'm looking for? They are, Samantha and Matt Craig are, I know Samantha's resigning as council, as student council, but is Matt still senior class advisor?
As I'm sitting, yep,
Matt, okay, yeah, okay, senior class advisor.
Mark Winter is shaking his head yes.
So I'm wondering why, I mean, if that's part of the reason that's specific people were going? Or was it opened up to all the staff, or not really, or just secondary staff, or how was that decided?
Well, we want people to go who are doing things for the grant related to the grant. And so we want people who know what's going on. So the answer is no, we did not open it up to every single person because not every single person wants to be involved in the grant or is involved in the grant.
Okay, so they're involved in the grant. I think I remember Samantha's doing something special with drugs, drug-free something or other, so that.
Sandra Haney is.
And I think Samantha is too, she lost $4,000 stipend or something. And Cassandra, that makes sense, and,
As per the teacher contract.
right, yeah, oh, right, so it makes sense. Okay, and so, there's different people, is this something that we expect to send them each year of the PNC grant? With PNC money?
Yep. As long as it's a requirement of the grant and you've approved the grant.
And then I guess the same question for number 11, is that the Leader in Me conference under the PNC grant?
No, this is not under the PNC grant. This is under the Leader in Me program. This is the one that the board approved for 7th and 8th graders that we're doing because we know that this is part of the Career Academy. We want kids, before they go to internships, externships, et cetera, we want kids who know how to act when they're in front of employers. And so this is part of that program. This is based off of the Stephen Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Very effective. A lot of people have been trained in it. This is the kid version of it. They just call it Leader in Me because we want all of our kids to realize they are a leader. And in talking to the Leader in Me program people, this is Franklin Covey that we're talking about. I don't want this to be any mystery here. Is that they're telling us that based upon what they're seeing here, is that this is so unique in the United States compared to what we're trying to do in Rock Bridge. They're strongly suggesting that we take our teachers or some there to Bowling Green, which is not the most desirable place to go to in March. And the reason why they're saying Bowling Green is because there are schools there who are doing similar things to what we're doing. And so they're telling us you really got to go there. Bowling Green, that's where you need to send staff. Don't send them to Florida, send them to Bowling Green.
I do have a question. It looks like it's all basically principals and then Alicia and then another teacher. How come the teacher, out of curiosity?
Is that done now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with all of our teachers.
Oh, no, we have a number of teachers who are doing the Leader in Me. He is-
Oh, okay.
He is
I'm just
one
curious.
of the teachers actually teaching the course.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
we
Okay.
we want to spread the love to the teachers also, so that they're going to these workshops too, along with the administrators.
Got it.
That's why we have a
Okay.
teacher going.
Sounds good.
And the name that you said was Franklin Covey?
Franklin Covey.
Covey.
Yep, this is based on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
And so this will not be covered under the PNC grant, do you know the cost of this? And that would be under general fund money?
No, this would be under staff development
Okay.
money.
Do we know-
Total cost of this, going at 4,000, 5,000?
I thought you said we already approved it though, or didn't we?
No, not this one, you haven't.
Okay.
And it's out of state, so that's why it's coming to you. I can't approve out of state travel. You can.
So it's only 4,000 to 5,000 for travel and
It
registration?
is very cheap to fly to Bowling Green in March.
I'm just asking.
So no, seriously, it is. That's why how can it possibly?
They pay people to go to Bowling Green. And
Yes. I mean,
It might be very lovely.
we're
though.
going to get comments from Bowling Green now.
Warm enough to sleep in tents.
and there's also a conference going there on Leader and Me at the same time too. So, but the real key why there is to see the schools who are actually doing. And the analogy I would make for those of you who are around when we went to visit Alexandria to see a real career academy, just think what a difference that made, just having some people see what that looked like. So that's why that request is in here.
And that's about 4,000 to 5,000?
Yep.
46,000, okay. So I'm done now, but
Okay,
on
so I
the,
just have a question.
yeah,
So 910, you're good on 910?
yeah, I just like 11 pulled separately to vote separately, because, and the rest would be fine on the consent agenda, but I'd like to vote on 11 separately.
Okay. So you want to vote on 9, 11 separately. Okay, so we will approve the regular agenda as presented.
Consent agenda. The consent agenda.
On the consent agenda. Okay. Minus 9, 11, and then we'll vote on that separately. So all those in favor of approving the consent agenda without 9, 11, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we're going to vote on 9, 11. Okay? Can I get a motion to approve 9, 11?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Lau, support by,
She can have it. She can have it.
support by Director Culver-Dahl. Any discussion on 9, 11? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Okay, so now we're into the reports.
School to work engagement and fundraising update.
Yeah. Mr. Speltz, you're up.
Good evening. I have a big meeting ahead of you. Well done by all of you tonight. That's a lot of stuff to get. Just want to talk about some of the fundraising and the school to work engagement stuff. I'm very excited about all of this. We just received a donation from Lundgren. What a great partnership it is with them and everybody, but Laura Hughes reached out and asked if we'd be interested in a donation of a vehicle for our automotive classes. And it'll be great. The teacher said, yes, please, and maybe we repair it. She said, you can do whatever you want with it. Maybe we repair it to resell it or continuously repair it to learn. That can be up to us. We are very grateful and want to express our gratitude to Lundgren Ford. A donation of our healthcare patient bed from Monarch Healthcare. Maddie Coity's been great to work with. It's taken us a long time to actually connect and get over there to get now our 6th bed. This one's a little bit different, so our kids will now have a little bit of a different bed, kind of a nursing home bed versus a hospital bed. So all of our 6 bays are filled at inside of our CNA lab at Rockridge High School. So we thank Monarch Healthcare for that. A $1,000 donation from Jeff and Holly Oakland toward the Entrepreneur Club. Jeff, now residing in the Chicago area, is a 1993 graduate from Virginia High School and has been now for 3 years a great supporter of Rockridge Public Schools. An example of somebody reaching out to us. I coached Jeff 100 years ago back in my college days, and he's very grateful of all his experiences while he was at Virginia and up here in the Iron Range, and is very kind to donate back to us, so we appreciate it.
What is that donation for again?
The Entrepreneur Club.
Thank you.
Yes. It's something that Jeff went towards the business, and I think that he'll be, he and his buddy Tony Person, they'll probably be live and ready to go with anything in our business field as we expand and continue to grow and develop needs inside the business academy. A huge project is planned. We have a monster mock interview day for the career exploration classes, all current 9th graders at Rockridge High School. We have invited and received commitments from the business and community members to come and be the interviewers over 2 days, Jan 17 and 18 at Rockridge High School in the Visa Career Center. 12 community business members, community/business members have said, yeah, we'll come in, we'll do that for you. They're going to be interviewing on the 10 minutes. So make sure you meet with your dad, John. It was very nice of Joe. He's coming. I'm excited to see him
told me.
along with everybody else. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody.
He's fired up.
That'll be great. He's super supportive. I really appreciate it. So I'm looking forward to that being a great day. And all of our 9th graders, Mr. Hammer and Miss Ellison, they're meeting with all of their career exploration classroom kids, letting them know this is a big deal. It's a kind of a dress your best deal. Don't go out and buy something new though, but this is a professional, expectation. And so we are teaching all of those types of skills to get our kids ready for, put that down, you'll hear the clicking, get our kids ready for job interviews. I'm very excited about that, and well done by the career exploration group, the 2 teachers, Mrs. Oja. They're great to work with. And then a big one here, pardon me, as it might be a little bit long, but I'll go quick. On Thursday, January 11, 25 Rockridge High School students and 3 educators will travel to Minneapolis to tour the 2 world-class facilities and meet with professionals excelling in the career fields of business management, event planning, marketing, and broadcasting. The Rockridge School District is committed to providing a world-class education for its learners. Students will tour the Mall of America and US Bank Stadium, where they will be introduced to business, marketing, and broadcasting professionals who increase brand awareness to tens of millions of visitors each year. A multitude of leading world-class companies utilize the Mall of America and US Bank Stadium's marketing strategies to gain market advantage. Introducing student learners considering careers in business management, event planning, and marketing to world-class venues and professionals is an exceptional way to ensure student engagement in a 21st century education experience. Now, for the best part, transportation substitutes and tour admission fees are all covered by a CTE grant. The CTE project was made available through the Northeast Service Cooperative as part of Minnesota Service Cooperative's Rural CTE Consortium grants funded through the Minnesota legislature. So that's going to be a great day for our kids. I'm looking forward to all of these events. This is just kind of my snapshot to keep it short. I'll try to bring more the next time I come.
Great job.
I have a question that sounds completely awesome, the trip to Minneapolis. What are the ages for the kids that are going, or who is it open to? Like, is it seniors? I missed that. I don't know if you said that.
So I did not say that, so I don't know.
Okay, just curious. No big deal.
If you would email me, I can let you know tomorrow,
Yeah,
just in case.
It's fine.
Yes.
Yeah,
But,
thank you.
Great question. So, looking forward to all of that.
All right, thanks, Willie.
Thanks, Willie.
Up next, discussion on the proposed school bus walk zone for North Star Elementary for the 2024-2025 school year. Mr. Voss.
Good afternoon, board members, Dr. Finn. I'm here to talk about and a little bit about next year, moving to North Star. Scott's here with me. And we're talking about non-transport zone around the North Star School. Now, let me go a little bit how we got here in the first place. So we knew during the consolidation that this was going to be about a 4-year process. First year was consolidation of the 2 districts. The second year, we instituted the elementary boundary zones, and then we moved the kids to the Laurentian and to the Franklin. The third year, we had to rebuild routes again because now the high school kids had to move to the new high school. So this is kind of the very end game here, the 4th year in, now we're gonna have to move all the kids from the Franklin back into Virginia to the new school. So that is the only school that is in a residential neighborhood. So what I want to talk about is the walk zone around that school. The reason for the walk zone is, I mean, Mike, you have one? This is the walk zone that I'm kind of proposing for the new school. But Mike, can you bring up the old walk zone? Yeah. That one that I gave to you.
The old one you want?
Yes, okay. Okay. So this is kind of the old walk zone for the Roosevelt Elementary back in Virginia days. It was only maybe, the school being here, it was only maybe 1.5 blocks on each side and about 8 blocks long. But there's really no residential down here at all, down by Main Street. And up here on 5th Avenue and 7th Street, there was a daycare, and that daycare was pretty busy at the time. It's not there any longer. So we did have a bus stop down there. So, and that bus stop still actually exists today. But that was the old walk zone, which there really wasn't many kids in that walk zone. Now, if you put up the new one. So what I'm kind of proposing here is to extend this walk zone out to 2nd Avenue, to 9th Avenue South, to 8th Street where it is currently, and the Chestnut Street where it is currently, but it's just kind of expanding it all out. The walk zone is for where the kids in proximity to the school. I mean, it doesn't make sense to pick up kids that are a block and a half from the school. That just doesn't make any sense. There are some driver shortages that we are starting to experience now that we really didn't have a problem with a year ago. It also is going to reduce some of the route's ride times for the students. So that's kind of what I'm really proposing that you discuss and, ask me any questions. Scott, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, one of the things we wanted to look at historically, where were our walk zones? Like the walk zone in Evelyn and the walk zone in Gilbert. And what we're proposing is not longer than any historical walk zone we've had in the districts. So just to give you a frame of reference.
Please. So if you look, what do we got here? We got the Evelyn walk zone. Evelyn was, the whole city of Evelyn was a walk zone except for the west side of Grant Avenue, which is their main street, and the south side of Fail Road, okay? This walk zone was pre-K through 12. Wow. Okay? If you go to Gilbert,
I don't think I have Gilbert's. I just have the Brandon one.
Oh,
okay.
I'm gonna get mad at that. Bill's gonna
I
get
know where
mad.
Gilbert was. I walked to school.
Yeah, you walked it.
Yeah, I walked it.
The Gilbert was anything on the Aurora side of Broadway got a bus ride.
That is correct.
Probably out towards where the Catholic church is.
Florida Avenue was.
Yeah, right in there.
You were Circle
And
Drive, you got right.
down to Highway 135, and then it came kind of up, and then when it got way up on top of the hill, up there on top of Michigan and top of Minnesota, the kids got a ride there too. But otherwise, everything else within the city was pretty much a walk zone. Or I'd really rather call it a non-transport zone than a walk zone.
Can I see the other map again?
Yeah, and Gilbert, it was the same thing. It was pre-K 12 walk zone. What I'm proposing in Virginia is grade 3 through 6.
So what is the furthest? Is it like 3 blocks, a 3-block walk zone, or how does that?
Yeah, the furthest would be,
9, wait.
where are we here? Would probably be up in here.
8 blocks.
Yep. Which is down by Erickson's gas station, down by the Freedom gas station, and up by like Armory Shell, that type of thing. They would not be crossing 9th Avenue. They would not be crossing 2nd Avenue.
We're 8th Street. Yeah.
They're crossing 5th Avenue though, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So what's the state thing about, have to provide transportation to elementary students if they have to cross a main thoroughfare or a street that has so much business? Is that some of these that we're talking about?
That's not true.
that old?
We do not have to provide transportation within 2 miles of any of the schools.
Unless there's some busy street?
Depends on what you want to term a hazard.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Whatever the state determines is a hazardous street. And yes, I do know about the 2 miles.
Yeah.
But I just remember at Evelyn, Grant Avenue and below Grant, that's the main street going through town. And that the kids below that in Lower Douglas, yes, we had to transport them. So that was the reason.
And that's why that on Chestnut, it's on one side of Chestnut versus on the other side too, for that same
And
reason.
I would consider 2nd Avenue, because technically 2nd Avenue is old Highway 53. I would consider that a hazard.
Okay, and so do you have those things at Chestnut Street and 2nd Avenue kind of defined we're gonna bust because of
Yes.
hazard or busy
Yep.
streets or something?
Yes.
How about on the left there, that 8th Street, is that a
That's
busy?
busy, yeah.
That's
So
busy.
9, those are
Yeah.
all busy streets,
Okay.
all of them.
Is busy.
Okay, that makes sense now.
So I'm glad they wouldn't be crossing 8th Street, they wouldn't be crossing any of the
They would
busy
not be
streets.
crossing 8th Street. They would
8th,
not
9th,
be
or
crossing
2nd.
2nd Avenue, they would not be crossing 9th Avenue, and they would not be crossing Chestnut.
Yeah, the four busiest streets they would not cross.
So if I heard you right, the reason why you're doing this is because of lack of bus drivers?
No, not.
Or we're
not
just,
totally.
okay,
Not totally.
So where the old walk zone ended, I made a line here on that other slide you had. Beyond that line used to be, what, bust? I see
Yeah.
Fourth Avenue
Yes.
and,
We're talking 2
There's
blocks
one stop
farther.
on 4th Avenue and 6th Street.
and Third.
3rd Avenue,
Yep.
there are stops all along 3rd Avenue.
Okay.
And there are stops all along 2nd Avenue servicing the east side of 2nd Avenue.
So previously, those were all bust, now there's going to be walk zone.
Correct.
And then if you remember those, even the high school students were all getting bused to that campus also. Not bused to a different campus farther away, so that's why I think some of the walk zones or the non-transport zones will change. Because Roosevelt and the high school were all getting dropped off at the same place.
But the high schoolers weren't getting transported, I don't think.
High school walk zone was large. Was it?
Yes.
Yes.
And so what was the reason, because we didn't have to transport under 2 miles, Virginia had a much smaller, or much smaller walk zone? No, much smaller walk zone, much larger bus zone. But it didn't extend out to the 2 miles, even then? Okay. So there was a decision made at some point in time that you would transport with closer than 2 miles, and that's where this line used to be. Now we're going out 1, 2, 3 blocks at least, huh?
Right.
And then in this direction, I don't know, 7 or 8 blocks, okay.
And board members, the reason why you're seeing this now, we're not asking you to make a decision, just to see it, think about it, because, Virginia, for years, has had really good pickups. And in Evelyn and Gilbert, they were walking those routes. So what we would like to do is to expand the routes in Virginia a little bit more. And what it will do is, yes, it does help Bob on the drivers, but it really helps us out if we don't have to pick up kids who really can walk. Because remember, North Star is it's an older kid building. This is a 3 through 6. This is not kindergarten, 1st and 2nd graders walking to that building. They should be able to walk this far. Somehow Gilbert and Evelyn kids have been doing this for decades. We believe Virginia kids can also do this. This will be hard for some folks, and we want people to have think time about it, and this will come back to the full board for your approval, but it does impact how Bob starts setting up his routes for next year. But we want to show you this now.
It'll be confusing to others because there will still be buses in that area.
Picking up high school.
I think that a lot of parents are
K-through.
not going to be happy about this, but the difference with Virginia is around that 8 o'clock hour, it's busier than Evelyn is and Gilbert. So it is, even though they're not crossing the busiest streets, some of those streets are still busy. I just feel like,
I'd say Fourth Avenue is probably busy too, isn't it? I mean, that's.
What was that?
Fourth Avenue is probably busy. Yeah.
6 too, it's busy.
And that was going to be my question too, comparing Evelyn to Gilbert as far as busy streets and,
I mean, this is right downtown, Chestnut is downtown, so.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just a comment, we can.
And this is part of the dilemma you have, because if this gets to expand a little bit more like what you see up here, it does make it easier for Bob to get kids to the elementaries without having them wait a long time before school starts. And it does allow him to pick up the kids sooner, so they're not waiting as long in an elementary school. So there is in addition to the drivers, the biggest plus that I see is it will make it easier for him to get kids so they're not waiting at the schools as long.
Is there signage on the road saying that there's
like school
walkway.
things like that,
Yeah,
there probably aren't very many around.
There's not, I'm not aware of many at
'Cause I know in
all,
the-
or any.
I know in the city, Gilbert, they put,
Sixth and fifth are the only ones that I know of that have school zone, or they used to anyway.
right,
So what's the relationship then between all of the Virginia resident students they're all gonna have to be transported unless well, we have to have a spot on the bus whether they drive themselves or not. So they're going in and out of this zone, the walk zone and inside of it and outside of it. You're going there to pick up those senior high kids, 9 through 12. What's
Ninth
the
through
we have
12th
stops
won't
for
be
high
there.
school.
9th through 12th won't be there.
No, they're coming to the senior high.
Oh, here, you're
Yeah.
talking about. I'm
Right.
sorry.
They're
I was
all
thinking you
gonna
were
be
talking about
transported
Virginia.
now.
Oh, I see, yes.
So all of the Virginia students, 9 through 12, will be
Well,
transported.
it stops a stop for them where they would have to pick up younger kids and bring them back there, and then have the older kids on the bus and bring them up here, or do a double route on it, which,
Well, I-
Is what we're doing on some of the routes right
so Bob, so like the high school kids, we're the pickup for the high school kids in junior high, within that,
Some are at the same stops, they're just a little bit later.
okay. When they out on the corners, do they have to walk? I mean, they don't step out their front door and get picked up.
No.
I mean, they have to go to
There
a-
are no kids in the district being picked up supposedly at their front doors
Okay.
in town, whether that's Gilbert, Evelyn, or Virginia.
Right, okay.
So under this scenario, you'll have some 3 through 6th graders that have to walk, but the senior high kids will be getting picked up. They could even be in the same family. And the elementary sibling will walk, and the senior high, or the 9 through 12 one will be picked up on a bus
Because they're
at
going to
somewhere
a
on the
different
border.
location.
Right.
Was that?
High
That's
school
because
kid
they're
would-
going to a different location.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
they're
saying. Yeah, they're coming over here,
It'd be 7 through 12.
Right.
7 through 12.
correct.
Yeah, 7 through 12.
And board members, that will be an inconsistency that people will probably point out to you and say, I gotcha. But keep in mind, if Bob picks all those kids up, those high school kids are now riding on the bus longer as he goes to drop these kids off wherever they need to get dropped off. And the same reverse thing happens in reverse. So if you tell us to pick all these kids up, we will, but you need to understand, you have kids sitting on buses for longer periods of time.
Don't we have some new funding for safety, school safety? Are we digging into those funds for transportation?
We've
above and
always
beyond?
gotten money for school safety,
We've
for
got some new,
transportation.
I know, but we've got some new money for school safety.
The state
lately.
has given us new money in many different categories, and in many different categories, your true costs don't come anywhere close to what it actually costs you to do.
I know, I'm just saying that
It's-
we got some new
it's
school
nothing.
safety money. Yeah. And what about Parkview? Are we extending the walk zones for around the Parkview for those students?
We do not have a walk zone around the Parkview.
Okay.
There's no houses around the
Yeah.
Parkview, actually.
Okay,
We have-
I didn't know. So
Yeah.
they all get bused to Parkview?
They all get bused.
Okay, this is just my opinion. I think A Street is super reasonable. Chestnut Street is really reasonable. I feel like, for me, I'd like to just squash it a little bit, the 9th and the 2nd Avenue. I feel like that's a really, like, those corners are really a long way to walk for a 3rd grader when it's in the winter. And, sidewalks are not shoveled and all of that. I don't know. As a parent, I don't think I'd be happy about that.
You've got more businesses in Virginia than Evelyn has too. Ours are concentrated mostly on the main street,
Right.
or on the main street, yeah. And you've got way more in Evelyn. Yeah, well, if we're gonna think of the safety of the students,
I mean, yeah, the traffic, yeah, there's a lot of traffic in Virginia, but, I mean, there ain't any more traffic. Is there more traffic now than there was
there's
40
probably,
years ago?
there's probably less traffic now in Virginia because the high school's not there.
Well, this summer, my best friend's dad just died crossing this A Street.
By a distracted driver or just?
We don't actually know what
Oh,
happened.
that sucks.
Yeah. I'm just saying that you know, that's in town, that's not going that fast, and he died. So you know, this is kind of to my heart.
To me, it seems reasonable because you're taking all the heavy.
I mean, I get it to 8th Street, like I said, in Chestnut, because that's completely reasonable, but I feel like Second Avenue, specifically Second Avenue area, if that could be squashed to like 4th Avenue or something, I would feel more comfortable. Or even 3rd. I mean, I just feel like it's a little out there, but that's just my opinion.
I just keep thinking about how we used to hear people say, I walked through a river and through a snowstorm.
I walked uphill both ways.
Over broken glass in the middle of winter all year long, right?
From Second Avenue, you're only talking 3 blocks.
Yeah, but look at if you're on 8th Street and Second Avenue, you're a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's 8 blocks.
You're at about,
And honestly,
7 blocks.
those aren't desirable neighborhoods, I'm just gonna say it. They're not.
So, Bob, you must have a cost, kind of an estimate of cost savings here, dollar figures with, you know, either less drivers, less time, less mileage on the buses, you know, all that kind of stuff, less fuel. Or haven't you worked that out yet?
I have not looked at that. Yeah, there's gonna be a cost savings
You
here,
will.
but I don't know that cost savings is a reason to do a walk zone.
I agree with you there.
Okay. Well, we're not
Right.
voting on this.
No.
We're not voting on anything, okay.
Discussion.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Do you want one more question?
I was just gonna say, so we're making the changes to go back to what I was asking you. We're not doing it because of the shortage of bus drivers, so we're doing it because
They've always done it that way.
we're just shrinking it up. It used to be big when that was a high school, but now we're shrinking.
No, it was smaller.
And
It's smaller as a high school.
It was,
Yeah, you're
it was smaller
expanding
at when
the walk zone.
they're expanding it out of,
Oh, I thought it was bigger.
no.
Like
No.
high schoolers walked all from wherever. Okay.
Biggest-
Yes, high schoolers cross, where are we? High
Chestnut 8.
schoolers crossed 8th Street.
So basically, we're changing it for,
Let's see, William, Lindsay,
I don't even know.
whichever one there.
Yeah.
Williams or Lindsay Edition, they walk to school.
Yeah, Williams is
You know,
over by the
Lindsay.
mall.
Yeah.
It's Lindsay, yeah.
Nicole, your kids walk to school when they got to senior high.
Well, I drove them, to be fair.
Maybe,
Like literally 3 blocks, but whatever.
Yeah.
maybe you can pick up some more kids on the way.
You got a pen.
But Director Westby, the simplest answer to your question is, if you say yes to this here, it will increase the odds that we will not have large numbers of kids, elementary kids, waiting outside the buildings at Parkview or at the North Star for other kids to get there. And this would include the morning, and this would include the afternoon also. It cuts down the odds that that's going to happen. And if you talk to any teacher from Parkview, they will be happy to fill you in on everything that happens because there's so many kids there early and later than what we really ideally would like to be. So we'd really like to cut that down a little bit if we can.
I'd just like to shorten this a little bit because I think you're going to have a lot of pissed off parents, for sure. Especially because this is like it hasn't been like this. This is people are not going to be happy.
My biggest thing is safety of 3rd through 6th graders walking, especially like you said in the winter. Or even in the rain or whatever.
I remember,
Have a safety concern.
remembering a kid when it was super snowstorm, it was back in the day, it was
Like I
school
said,
for
uphill
in-town
ways.
kids only. So we had to walk it, it was super cold and snowy. I remember that.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank
Bob.
you.
thank you.
Up next is Angie Williams on the Laurentian Elementary Principals Report.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody again. The last time I was here was the end of October, so we had the month of November and December go by. We've had a lot of things happening. The first thing that I wanted to mention was, I had asked Mr. Landwehr, the advisor for our ambassadors, sixth grade ambassadors, if they would be interested in putting on a Veterans Day program. And they right away said, yes, we can figure out something. And it turned out really nice. The students created a slideshow that they presented to our student body. It was in the heart space of our school, which is always a nice venue. Because you have some kids that are up on the balcony, and then the younger students are right in the heart space, and we have that nice big screen and beautiful sound system. So it's a really nice venue. They had a few orchestra students come and play some music, and some choir students from the high school that came and also played some military songs. So hats off to Mr. Landwehr and the ambassadors for doing the first one that we've ever had at Laurentian Elementary. And then also, since the last time I was here, we had our parent-teacher conferences, and at the elementary level, we get a huge turnout. So it's always a positive experience for the parents and the teachers, and for myself, get to see a lot of people. At that same time, our PTA had their book fair, and I want to, give a shout out to our PTA members for giving up the time to run the book fair during school hours and during our conference times. They earned it was over $10,000 in funds, and they reported to me that it was the highest profit that they've had so far. So I want to give a thanks to all the families, students, and parents that supported our PTA. That money goes to our field trips in the spring. So I asked the PTA president, so we're not going to have any problems for field trips in the spring? Nope, they should all be covered. So hats off to them, and thank you for their time and commitment. And then during conference time, I had my STEAM teacher, Mrs. Halls, come to me. She had a PBL project planned. She's still going to do the one that she had planned from the summer training. But she came to me and she said, could I change it, because the students and I were talking about conferences, and if their parent wanted to see me as a specialist, how would they know where to go if I wasn't there? And these were second graders, mind you. So this PBL project derived from a conversation that happened organically in the classroom about how will mom and dad know where to go to see Mrs. Halls for STEAM if the child is not with them. So they made maps. So they took our maps that we had of the school and they made it more user-friendly for the parents, color-coded it so that when they came to conferences, they could pick up the map and it would help orientate the parents to where all the classrooms were. And their guiding question was, can I use my map skills to help parents navigate the school during parent-teacher conferences? So this was a problem that they came up just through discussion organically in the classroom, and they wanted to do it. And so that was kind of a neat story that Mrs. Halls had for that project. And then in the month of December, we had all of our holiday concerts. We had our sixth grade our informants, is what Mr. Melby calls it, with sixth grade, where they actually come and they go to the music room. It was a little tight on the seating for the adults that were there. A lot were standing outside because it was in the music room. But he wanted to give it a shot in the music room. And then we also had our orchestra concert with Mrs. Wilcox, December 20th, and that was in the gymnasium. And also before the holiday break, I want to say thank you to the Leo's Club from the high school that came to support our third graders in making gingerbread houses. They had a good time doing that. And then Mr. Schumal had some members from the 10th through 12th grade band come to Laurentian Elementary and play some holiday music. So he went and stationed himself throughout the building and played some holiday music. And I know they also went to see North Star as well. So thanks to them for bringing us some holiday joy before our break. And then when we came back, there were three things that I wanted to mention that just happened today, actually. The first thing is that we had CORE and that's part of that PCN grant. CORE is a group of students, and it stands for Creating Our Range Every Day. And a group of the CORE members, and then Miss Haney and Miss Craig came to our first hour to meet with all of our sixth graders, and they talked about being a upstander versus a bystander. So how many people actually help out once they see somebody struggling or need help? Do we actually, are we an upstander or are we just a bystander and just don't do anything? So it was kind of a nice simulation and role-playing activities that they did in groups of 4 or 5 kids. So that was taking place this morning, and the sixth graders liked it, and it's an important concept to teach our kids how to be upstanders instead of just a bystander and not do anything. And then also today at 10:30, we had Mrs. Fierke give out the University of Minnesota Stars of Honor Award, which is the University of Minnesota. They do this every year, but they give us complimentary tickets to an athletic event. And then our teachers nominate students who are stellar students in the classroom. So at 10:30, we had a list of students come down to the gymnasium to receive these athletic tickets. And it's for a gymnastics meet this year. And I know that we do have a strong gymnastics program in that area run by Gwen Roos. And so I know we do have some gymnasts here that would probably love to go to a U of M meet. And then they get recognized in break during action. I think last year it might have been a boys basketball game or men's basketball game, but this year it's a gymnastics meet. And then I also wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Fierke again for the continued support of our portrait of a sixth grader. So the teachers came up with the acronym of the characteristics that we want for our sixth graders to develop starting from pre-K to 6. It's fierce, which is focused, inquisitive, effective collaborators, responsible. We want them to be compassionate. We want them to be engaged. So in the month of October, we had teachers nominate 2 students that from each class that were focused. In November, it was inquisitive. December, we had effective collaborators. And right now, our teachers are looking for the kids that are responsible. And she sets it up at the beginning of each month where the kids come down to the heart space, we take their picture, and then we pull names, one from each grade level to receive a prize. So I want to thank her for her continued support for this. She's ordered posters, and we have a Hall of Fame wall as you go to the gymnasium where we have the posters out and the pictures of the kids that have been nominated by their teachers. So it's just nice to see that, that we're recognizing kids for the characteristics that we want to see from our students when they leave Laurentian. And the last thing I have to say is I want to give a shout out to Alicia Schrader for working with our students, with our teachers on their reading and math curriculum and common assessments. So today she met with all of the kindergarten teachers in the district, Parkview, and the Laurentian. They met at Parkview and they meet together to look at their curriculum that they have with math expressions in math and then the reading curriculum and looking at the common assessments and making sure they're all on the same page. And that's a very valuable time for our teachers, and I've heard nothing but good things from the teachers, that it's not a waste of time, that they've been getting a lot accomplished. So Alicia has reached out and met already with 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, and we did kindergarten today, and then we just have 1st and 2nd grade to wrap up. And our 3rd through 6th grade teachers are very appreciative of the time that they're getting to do the work during the school day because of the standards-based report card. So that's just helping them get all on the same page as a district for our report cards and our standards-based grading. So I have to give a shout out to Alicia Schrader as well for the work that she's been doing. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Awesome.
Any questions for Angie?
Angie, when did the district Rockridge go to standards-based report cards?
Well, K through 2 have been doing it for a few years now.
Since consolidation or before?
I think it was at consolidation.
K through 2 has been standards-based for 8-10 years.
But not the Evelyn Gilbert side.
No, on the Virginia side.
The Virginia side. So then when we started to talk to the Virginia teachers, you know, it would have been an easy transition for the K through 2 because K through 2 on their side they've been through that and gone through the work and so it was an easy transition to get our K through 2 on board, and now all of us are doing the 3rd through 6th grade.
And that's since consolidation?
Yeah, this is the first year, 3rd through 6th.
First year, okay.
Yeah, from 3rd through 6th. K through 2, it's been the last couple of years.
Okay, and so how was that decision made to go from letter grades to standards-based?
Well, I guess it's come from discussions between administrators and teachers about best practices and looking at what a grade really means. Like if you have a child that gets a C in math, well, what does that really mean? I see a C. What's a C mean? Well, in a standards-based report card, it's more specific because there's power standards that we want kids to, we're gonna teach as many standards as we can, but we do have power standards that the teacher selected as the most important concept to learn. And so now with those power standards, now it's like meets or does not meets or partially meets. And at least it tells them a little bit more descriptive of what they're not doing well. And it's not just a 1 grade overall, so.
We have to teach all the standards anyway, though.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I think like through project-based learning, which really a couple teachers have said it's really like our thematic units that we used to teach. And it is, I mean, there are so many standards, there's no way you can teach those standards in isolation. You have to lump them together and you have to work them together. The English and the writing and the reading and the math and the science, if you can integrate them, then it's doable. But if you think that you can teach those standards separately, it's not gonna happen. You won't get through them all. So through project-based learning, they do cover a lot of standards in all the subjects.
So the power standards, like you said, there's like 3 categories. Meets, partially meets, or does not meet.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost like a grading system, like maybe A, B, C, or B, C, D, or F, or whatever. You're not meeting it. So it's a type of separation grading tier system, like grades would be.
It is, it's just more descriptive because you've got the power standards there.
Yeah.
So
Power standards.
you see it there, you see the language, like if they're not understanding something specific like in math.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Ange.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is a discussion on the school board student reps. Mr.
Well, and board members, this topic is on the agenda because you have talked about this. You had some individual board members who I'll turn it over to them in just a second, who have interviewed some students. And this is related, 10.4 is related to 10.41 because the policy committee separately met and they have some suggestions for you. You see some examples there. They're suggesting that, this is coming from the policy committee, that you have some kind of a policy for student reps, which you currently don't have. Now that is a little bit separate than how this started because you did have some board members who interviewed some students who were interested in being school board reps. So they're kind of mixed together. So now this is your opportunity to talk about what do you want to do with your school board reps. Do you want to have a policy? Do you want to tell me to make a policy? Do you want to figure one out on your own? What do you want to do with the kids that board members interviewed? You want to bring them on? Where would you like to go?
Can I voice my opinion? So Lisa and I are on the personnel committee and we did interview 4 students, I believe, for student rep. And I think that this year is going to be different than years going forward in what I'm envisioning. Like, it's January. We've been talking about this since prior to the school year about having student reps, and I think we need somebody to be here to be a voice for the student body now. Going forward, I think that the way I envision this happening is I envision like an application process, kind of like what the school board members have to do. You have to apply, and then there's an election. And that's what I'd like to see students do. I'd like to see students apply, be notified that student rep position's open, have them apply, have them run an election. I was thinking about how that could possibly be done because it would be extra work for somebody to run an election. And, even some of the information that we were given on policies and things, you can have the student council advisor run the election. You can have the National Honor Society, run the election. But I just think that students should have that opportunity to elect people that they want to be their voice. And that person should be doing their best to represent the student body and not always, like their personal views, and one of the policies talked about that as well, is representing, the student body. I foresee it being a junior and a senior, so 2 board members, 2-year term. The junior, once they're elected for their junior and their senior year. I think that having to, be an upstanding student and, going by like the Minnesota State High School League type rules, I think would be appropriate for a leadership role in representing the student body. But that's how I envisioned this all going. But I think that Lisa and I are coming to the table today to make a recommendation for 2 students that we thought would do well for the student rep for this year, but letting them know that this is for this year. Next year, it's going to be run a little bit differently.
Did you interview 4 new ones from the 2 you and I did?
We interviewed
2 more from.
Okay. Because I missed that second.
Yep.
So when we met with the policy committee, that's actually exactly what we talked about. And I think Polly said kind of verbatim what you were saying right now. But we did agree that this year would be different. And then just going forward, we would have more clear policy on, that. Myself, I wasn't sure about the elections or the interview, but that does make sense. What you're saying, so I'm in.
Well, I think
I'm in agreement with that. However, what would we do next year then? Because for an election, because that we would need a senior and a junior. So how would that work? They would both be elected, or
you'd elect a senior and a junior. So they would.
And then the junior would do a 2-year term and then go
the person
forward.
for this year, the people that we are going to recommend for this year would be just for the remainder of this year. If they want to be a student rep next year, they're going to have to reapply and go through the process. The election, whatever the board decides. But that's what I envision. And part of the reason why I think that it should happen that way is because, there's been a lot of things that I've gotten emails about this school year where parents were feeling like student voices weren't being heard. And if there was a student rep that, maybe there's like a juice bar or something one day at school and, they can talk with the student rep or, kind of get people's ideas on different things like turnabout and when it's going to happen, December versus October, those kinds of things. I just think that just like us, they should get elected too.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if we need to, maybe have it in a working session where we kind of iron it out a little bit. Because I feel
for the policy, you mean?
Right, for the policy. But going forward, I do think this year you should pick 2
And that was the intent, is to not get behind the 8 ball again. And we'd be ready to hit the ground running. Some of these policies even talk about starting the process in February or March and having elections. So once you leave school, you'll know who your reps are. And these were just samples and examples, and the MSBA one gave, just generalized. But as a board, I think we have to pick and choose what our policy, and it's not just a policy, but the procedure will be, and what we think is best and fair and most productive.
I agree.
And so I just want to start the ball rolling now. It's January, and so maybe we could have our thing in place by February, have the election by March, or whatever dates we choose. So we're all on the same page there.
So every school has their own policy in regards to student reps?
Some don't have it.
Okay,
Some don't. We just pulled some off the net.
And I think that there's good points in all of them.
Yes,
there's good things, like they shouldn't be involved in closed sessions. They shouldn't get confidential information about personnel.
We just have to come up with our own.
Yeah, yeah, and just like the selection process, you have to apply and then have an election, and who's gonna run that election? Because I'm assuming like Google Forms, they can send out an election ballot with a student's email, however they want to do it. I'm not gonna micromanage, but those were just what I was thinking could possibly be a way about going about that. There's some that say, in May, the person would be elected for the following year. And, is there anything wrong with having their election on election day too? I don't know. It's just, I think that's something that, maybe could be a discussion.
Having it on election day though, then they miss September, October, and we wouldn't know until the second week in November.
When do they pick student council?
Yeah.
Maybe do it at the same time.
Well, and that was the other question that I had. That was the other question that I had about student council. Like, are they elected? Because if they were elected student council members, which I don't think they are, but if they were elected student council members, could one of those people be nominated by the student council as a whole to sit on the board? But the best idea that I like is having them apply and having an election.
I agree.
And we just need to work it out, that's all, sooner rather than later.
Paralleling what we do.
So Noel, is there something you can draw up, like a draft of what the election process would be?
I think the board should do.
No, and I mean,
do
you
that.
drop something, a sample.
Well, it's
just
your
so-
choice. There's two ways you can do it. You as a board can all sit down and draft a policy, or you could look at me and say, Schmidt, draft a sample policy and we'll go from there.
Right.
I don't care. You tell me which way you want to go.
I think we should collaborate as a board on this. Because we are going to be inviting students to sit at our table, and I think we all might have different and the same, but we all have input.
And we have a little bit of time before we have to have the policy, because this is more of a pilot thing to see how it goes. And that being said, I think, these are very busy kids they're doing lots of stuff, so, I think they need a little bit of, what word do I want to use? Wiggle room for if they are gonna either stay for a whole meeting, or they might not make it from time to time because they've got something, just so that we're aware of that. I don't know how that will play out in reality with them coming.
Right, I guess, yeah, I want to make sure that we get students that actually, want to do it and don't think of it as a hardship, like, wow, that's a
Right.
huge commitment, because.
That's why they apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and I guess we can just see how it goes.
But
because-
for them to be able to experience,
Right.
not just this, but the other things that they're doing.
Right,
Yeah.
So you want to move forward with the whole board discussing this, correct? Is that
For the
something-
policy going forward, I think, for the next year for sure.
Okay.
But for now, we only have a few months left of school,
Okay.
so.
I agree with that.
Let's just get the two that we have to recommend on board
Okay.
to represent for this year, so they have a voice at the table.
so
Okay.
what is your procedure going forward with that? Like, do you think like next meeting, we'd have them representing?
I think that
You've picked two that you,
we have two that we would recommend
Okay.
that we thought were very good, and they happen to be a junior and one was a senior. So they would just continue, be here for this school year. And, just so that they know that we would really like them to be here, but obviously being a student in your academics takes precedent, that's more important. But, just, I think verbally telling them, you don't get to vote for one. You're like an advisory.
Agenda item? Do you get they get a,
They get a.
I think they get to be a part of, the agenda item, and even if that student wants to say, hey, Mr. Addy, this is a discussion in school, can we put it on the agenda?
Right.
Bill has the ultimate authority on whether or not it makes the agenda, but it's something that they can do.
We had, when, back in Evelyn Gilbert, that person came to the table and sat and talked about all the things that happened the past 2 weeks and things that are coming up for the next month. I think that having those people sit at the table, even going forward as in how to make this process for the upcoming year, I think you have good input from them.
Always.
Can we add 2 desks or how would we do
Yeah,
that?
I think that we would need to have a specific spot for them, so they know where they need to be, and
So,
I would be
Alright.
happy to mentor and to kind of talk with that person, or both the people, I'd be happy to do that.
so when would you like these kids sitting at the table, the 22nd or the 12th? I mean, you want to get them sitting at the table as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I think there's a student that was inquiring as well.
Okay.
Actually, I know there was, a teacher reached out to me and said there was a student that was wondering about the process
Okay.
because they were a part of the interviews and they are interested in being on the board and they want to know what's going on,
So
so.
our next meeting is January 22nd and January 12th January 22nd, February 12th and 26th.
I think if we could get the person here on January 22nd, that would be
Yes,
best.
better.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
The only
So
question,
then,
go ahead, Tim, go ahead.
I mean, so we'll move forward with that and maybe get them some information and we'll have a discussion at the table in regards to this student rep, or maybe we can get some of their input on how to move forward with this,
Actually, I think that's a great idea.
you know?
Yep.
Okay, so that'll be put on the next agenda.
Yep, I got it. So I just want to let you know, you're adding a lot of meetings to your schedule, and you're telling me you basically want double the meetings in the next month and a half, and I don't want to do any illusions here, but just, you're going to be here. We're going to get to know each other a little better.
What do you mean?
Now, this should be part of the regular meeting.
I know, but we've already been here 2 hours, and you still have half of your agenda left. I'm just warning you, I'm just.
Well, and when I said that I'd like to see more committee meetings.
Okay with it, I'm here anyway,
Working
so.
sessions happening, I didn't necessarily mean that we needed to have a monthly. I mean, I think that if there's committee meetings that are taking place and it's a busy month, then we should probably have a working session. But if it's a pretty slow month, like the month of December, and, there's other months where things are slower, we don't necessarily have to have a working session.
Completely agree with that. Yeah, that's what I thought. But we probably should have a working session about just this particular policy.
Then we could have it.
And we can have it right before the meeting.
Before the
Yeah.
22nd meeting.
I'd be
Right.
okay with
I
that.
think you just should book yourself through the end of March to have 2 meetings at each board meeting because of the finance stuff that's going to come up. and
Well, you got
a
two,
topic like this.
you have 2 meetings a month.
No, I'm talking about a 5 o'clock one, in addition
Oh.
to the 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
That's what
that's-
you're telling me. You want as a board.
Okay, so.
I think when there's been discussion about, I digress, but there's been discussion about budget cuts and things, and I would agree that we should know what our financial situation is.
You will.
Okay.
Okay, so we're moving along, so is the discussion of the student reps over? Any other-
Clarification though, for the ones coming on board and the sooner the better, I agree, and you've got 2 names, that's fine. I mean, go ahead and do that and then I'll make my comment.
And I just want to confirm, because I didn't have it written down, but these were the 2 we were going with, right? Is it those 2?
That you recommend?
Yes.
Yeah, I know this one's 12th grade. It wasn't this one.
What if you contact them rather than doing it?
Yeah,
At the
contact,
meeting.
yeah, don't.
Don't do it at
Yeah.
the meeting, contact them.
Yeah.
The board can give authority for
We
the,
we don't need a board approval for that. We can just,
I don't think we do.
yeah,
No.
okay.
I don't think so.
Just one quick clarification though. Now, these 2 coming on in the future ones, they need to know what the expectations are of them. And even just now, we can just generally say, I would rather they don't just come and tell us what activities that they had in the school. And then leave,
Agreed.
like happened before. I'd like them to be real
Agreed.
integral on
That's why
items.
I volunteered. I'll meet with.
And I would like to be,
taskmaster.
I would like to be a mentor too. We can have 2 mentors.
I think that,
There's 2 students and 2 mentors.
I think that I would be more than happy to mentor, and I would think that Bill should probably, because he should probably talk to them about the meeting agenda and kind of the way he's gonna run meetings, and that they don't get to vote or those kinds of things.
Well, I
But
think I could handle that too, just like you could.
Yeah, and I think that Mark
I'll
Winter should be
volunteer
a
to
part
be
of
a
that
volunteer.
as well.
I'll volunteer. Are you volunteering too?
I'm volunteering,
So am I. All right, well,
so
Okay. Are we all done on 10.4?
all done.
Okay, 10.41, student, policy for student board members. Okay, now, that was,
We
Discussed
kind of
already.
tabled
Yeah.
it, basically.
okay, so 10.5.
we
Discussion.
kind of inserted that we all
Yeah.
agreed that we would bring those two on is ASAP, okay?
That is just-
That could replace our discussion about the reps for now.
Yeah, right, I think Noel's already,
No, I know.
has
And the
already,
policy.
we're having a working
Now
session.
working session.
I'm on it.
Okay, and we're having them, we're trying to get them sit at the table by the 22nd.
Got it.
Okay. All right. 10.5, discussion on superintendent evaluation.
Well, this has been on the radar for a year, and it's January, so maybe we can have a fresh start. And before I think any evaluation can be done, I think even in your contract, the goals or something need to be set so you can measure an evaluation instrument against some goals and objectives. So there's nothing for us to agree upon now. It was a discussion item that we need to do that too, and then move into an evaluation instrument, so.
I do believe there's an email from everybody pending when they get to their computers.
Well, there are many different forms of evaluation and many participants, so that's what we have to decide on too as a board, of what type, which one, there are many types and kinds, so. And who's involved, that's part of it too, not just to say, here's the one you're gonna use, okay?
Right. Well, I would use the one that'd be probably recommended by MSBA.
Well,
I mean, that's what,
MSB isn't I don't know, because I haven't seen it. I mean, I saw the old one that we never did, but I didn't necessarily agree with that either, so.
Right.
That's a discussion we need to have, and goals and objectives, and then move into it.
okay, all
There's
righty.
nothing against the superintendent, because he knows and he understands, and it is contractual.
No, I'm saying, please evaluate
I know.
me. I'm probably the one superintendent in the state saying, please evaluate me. You know, this is what boards are supposed to do.
Okay,
All right. Take my wife, please. What's that old joke by, what's his name? Take my wife, please.
10.6, committee reports by school board members. Anybody got some reports? Committee reports? I guess there was some,
Well, you already heard from me on the student direct part.
okay?
I can go over some of my notes from the last meet and confer meeting as well.
And I just have a question, did we have two this year already, or did we
Yeah.
have three? We had
Yeah.
two so far.
Yep,
I think I sat in on
two
the
meet and confer meetings, one in October, on the 2nd, and then one December 12th.
Okay. And did they give a list, did they actually type out a list of the things they wanted to talk about, and then you talked about it? Okay, I'd be interested in that, what they had done.
Yeah, they did. So majority of teachers are liking the phone policy. They said that. There's some discussion on the busing at Parkview and busing at the high school. Kind of some discussion about the hills, being slippery and the buses kind of having to get a running start. Everything was going good with traveling teachers. There was a lot of discussion on discipline, particularly at the high school. And a lot of what seemed to come up had to do with communication. Like communication breaks. Let's see here. A discussion about if there's in-school suspension, do we have it? How about, detention? What's happening with kids who are tardy? Teachers were talking about not necessarily knowing what the outcome was, like if a student was referred to the principal's office, or if there was a behavioral referral, not always knowing what the result of that was, or if there was any action taken. We discussed IXL. IXL is being offered to those who want it. Let's see, we talked about substitute teachers, what we're trying to do to get them here. And again, some of that discussion with substitute teachers was pay, and also, just the discipline issues impacting teachers wanting to come and substitute teach. There's a lack of substitutes everywhere, but some regular teachers, they were saying, are not coming back. There's some discussion about maybe having like the foods class, cater and welcome, some substitutes, let them see the school layout, that kind of thing. We were discussing having the district attorney come and talk with the staff about laws, like special ed laws, the non-exclusionary laws, and not being able to, have detention, certain grade levels, that kind of thing, or exclude them from recess. Talked a lot about a special education coordinator or having a person that was able to do the paperwork for IEPs. Talking about retention of paras and pay as well, and how we can retain paras. Student support aid. It's a personnel bill, we discussed that as well. $40,000, I believe, is what we got, and I think that it sounds like, because I've talked to other districts too, and it sounds like that's a blanket amount of money that's going out, is that correct?
Yep.
What was that 40,000 for?
For increasing like school social workers and school counselors and addressing some of the increase in mental health needs. Yeah. Let me see if I missed
And that
anything.
comes from where, Brandy? The 40,000?
40,000 came from the state of Minnesota.
Can we just stop on that point for just a moment? I just wanted to ask you a question. If we have, a thought of where that we want that money allocated, or have you thought of that at all, or?
You're going to get an amazing opportunity to talk extensively about it because of what I just heard tonight about the finance committee.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the decisions you'll have to make is we did hire extra social workers, counselors with some COVID dollars. Those dollars are gone after this year. And so we hired 3 of those folks, and you're getting $40,000. You do the math. And so this is one of the decisions you'll have to make. It's not quite as simple as that, but yes, you will end up talking about this quite a bit.
Okay.
The only other thing that was discussed, again, going back to like discipline and tardies, and for kids who are truant and chronically tardy, what's being done? Are they being brought to truancy court? Those kinds of things were discussed too. And just people in the high school wanted more communication on discipline options and what's happening with discipline in the high school.
Well, the Family Services Collaborative dug in pretty deeply with the truancy issue some years ago when I was on the board, and working with the courts and the social workers, and knowing that truancy and not coming to school has a direct impact on academics, the time spent in school. So just generally then, so now we've had 2 sessions with the teachers, and we've heard their non-contractual discussions. So how do we follow up on these? What do we do to follow up on their either concerns, their suggestions? And I think we need to somehow as a board maybe take these and, I don't know, workshop, special meeting, I don't know what. But otherwise it's a waste of breath on both sides. And did the board have any concerns to talk with the teachers about? It can work both ways too,
I feel like we're addressing some of those things, like the IXL, they didn't have it at the beginning of the school year. Teachers were really advocating for it. We had lots of discussions about it. Administration met about it. And, you know, whoever wants it is being allowed to get that. And I think that another thing that is really important is having that district attorney come and speak to staff about the laws. Because I think sometimes people think certain things should be happening and they don't quite understand why it's not when it has to do with laws.
Or maybe they can do something, but they hesitate because they don't know too.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like the new law, you know, about not being able to exclude from recess and those kinds of things. I think it's a learning curve, much like our school board has had a lot of learning curves. I think it's just trying to figure out what can be done without having a lawsuit brought against the school district, what can be done, what can't be done, those kinds of things. And I think some guidance from an attorney in that area is beneficial.
And one additional thing that came out of the meet and confer is I did, because I was there, I heard everything. I did say that I would get together a group of people to talk about discipline once the new year turned around, and here we are. So that would include, I'll be looking for teacher volunteers, because these are complex issues because it involves what is the teacher doing in the classroom. It involves what is the assistant principal, and dean doing? What is the hall monitor doing? What is the parent doing? What is the kid doing? So there's a whole bunch of different levels, and so we'll get a group together. We'll talk about this because we just haven't as a district. So it's a very timely topic. So.
And the basis, the core would be our discipline policies and our handbooks and our rules and regulations.
Following through
Are we
with them.
following through with them? So that's a big part of it, I'm sure, just consistency and knowing what they are and following them. But and then, well, anyhow, so that's good. You gave 3 good examples of discussion and communication and talk, but I just want to make sure that we do, you know, we do something as a board, even if we discuss these things separately, and how we can.
Yeah. I like to
Progress.
say that communication seemed like a big thing too. And I've heard that too. Maybe
Communication
that's
and
something that,
discipline.
you know, you can,
And that's pretty.
Dr. Schmidt can address, you know.
Right, it goes all the way to
It's
what does a teacher do if there's an issue? What's the interaction with the teacher and the kid? Is there a piece of paper? What happens to that piece of paper, electronic? Who gets it? How long elapses between the time a teacher tells someone about it? What do they do with it? What kind of interaction is there with the kid? Then what happens to it? What does the parent find out about it? And then when the kid goes back to the classroom, what happens? Is there another interaction with the teacher and the kid, with the AP dean? What happens there? So it's a whole sequence of events.
I do think communication goes beyond that though, because I've heard other issues about teachers saying, well, we didn't even know this. It would just be nice to know that this might be coming up, or that the board decided this or whatever. So I feel like it's a little bit of a bigger issue with the communication.
Well, I'm going to defend the board a little bit on this one because Stacy Lampa types up the board big agenda item. She sends that out to everybody. All staff know what you're talking about, every school board meeting, and what the topics were. So what they're doing with it, I don't know. We would like them to read it. That's why we give it to our staff.
I know in the past that staff has been hesitant in coming to speak to the board on certain things. And I just hope that that doesn't continue going forward, because I think we're pretty open to, you know, having them voice some concerns, whether it's at a meet and confer meeting or, you know, coming to speak with us. That's just how I feel.
And we do, but we also want people to follow the chain of command.
Right.
First talk to the principal. I mean, first talk to the principal. See if you can do something, and then you kind of go from there.
Yep. And I don't know what the practice is right now, what the principals are doing, but it would be nice, if the principals could collectively ask the teachers too, like, hey, do you have any concerns? I don't know if that's being done or not, but.
I think they are doing that.
Yeah.
I think they are.
I've heard that maybe that's lacking a little bit with communication, but.
Everybody's got different
Everybody has a
perspectives.
different perspective,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, is there any more reports by board members on committees?
Well, I had in mind, John was, he's the sole representative with the city, the liaison, that task force they're putting forward, and I understand there was one meeting there.
Yeah, there was one meeting, we met for 2 hours at City Hall. The first half hour or so was just getting the other 4 members of the committee up to speed on how we got to where we got, and was Bob Streeter was running the meeting, and he enlisted a friend in the industry named John, I can't remember his last name, but they've been in the business, in the redevelopment business for years and years, tons of experience, and we talked about that 30 or 40 minutes, and then we did a series of images of residential spaces, green spaces, commercial spaces. We all ranked them, had our own scorecards, ranked them. They tallied them. We went through what we liked the most, what we liked the least, and just kind of what we thought was kind of like, it was just basically a brainstorming session on what we thought we would like to see in that space as it was reused. So that took up to about 7 o'clock, and then the city council did the exact same, from my understanding, I wasn't there, city council did the exact same exercise the next day. So did it twice.
So did you come to some conclusions?
Oh, no, that was just the very tip of the iceberg. It is, and it's just more or less, we're just providing our opinion on stuff, and what they're hoping to do is take our opinions with the council opinions after 4 meetings, get to an overall plan that they would present to the council maybe by the end of the year, and say, this is kind of what we came up with based on what the committee said and the council said. What do you think? Is this something you could present to a developer that would pass?
So were there any handouts, were there any like slideshows or PowerPoints or anything?
Just slides, just pictures of different properties, green spaces, commercial properties, houses. Do you like this? What don't you like? What do you like? Some were in Evelyn, some, and others were other parts of the country. What do you like about this park? What don't you like? Yeah.
So is there a collection of thoughts or any minutes or anything? I understand there weren't any minutes taken.
Nope.
I just want to follow along with that process.
Yeah.
I'm not the liaison, and others I'm sure in the city are interested too in the discussions and how this is coming together. There's 3 more meetings, you said, and
Yep.
evidently then there's going to be some presentation to the public or whatever, but.
It's only a presentation to the city council when they get an idea of what they think would pass. They said, those guys said that developers' number one thing is managing risk. It's not making a profit. Doing what we're doing, would cost them $200,000, and they come up with this grand plan of what they could use that 20 acres to do, and then the city council said, we don't want any of that. That's terrible. And they lost $200,000 putting it together. So they're trying to get a plan that would be approved. So a developer is like, oh, we can build that. It's going to be approved, and we can sell that. And then they saved a huge step. So that's what the plan is.
Okay, thanks.
That was the attempt to do. It was good. It was interesting.
Thanks for your reports.
All right. Moving right along. Superintendent, Rockridge enrollment numbers.
Exciting and enthralling. Superintendent report at 8:23 PM. A couple things to update the board on. One is we like to give you enrollment numbers every once in a while. So here they are. You can see what they are. And the big question is, how does this compare to what we were budgeting? Well, at the end of last year, we had 2,245 kids. We have now 2,270, and I'm counting the same type of student. I'm not adding different kid types. There's all sorts of different categories. Basically, you're up 22 kids over what you budgeted for and what you thought was going to show up at the beginning of the year. And don't be too alarmed when you see some of the numbers, because we knew Laurentian was going to fill faster. We knew it was gonna be tighter. We knew kids from Parkview were gonna go over to Laurentian. We knew kids from North Star were gonna go over to Laurentian, just because of the way the boundaries now work. And so you can see what's happening there, but the good news is, your parents and your kids are choosing stay in Rock Ridge, and they are choosing to come to Rock Ridge. Comparison to what we budgeted for, and it was a pretty aggressive number. If you remember last year talking to Spencer, he gave you a couple of options, and typically there's a regression model where you take a significantly lower number, and you said, no, don't do that, because we think kids are gonna show up when the high school opens. Laurentian's been here for a year. As soothsayers, you were correct. The number has had steady and firm. So this is just so you know what the numbers are. Any questions on the numbers?
So, Noel, I did pull up that packet. It was back in March from Spencer. And I guess what I'm envisioning is, I don't know, ever since it was Evelyn and Evelyn Gilbert, we would get something like this monthly. And it would be broken out by, you go back to the March 13th meeting of 23. It would be broken out by grades, beginning of the year, October 1st head count, that's the state count, and then monthly, because like even now at a quarter break or semester break, if we see maybe high school kids going to post-secondary or something, and we think, well, we're doing pretty good, hardly any went, or if there's a lot of them going, we can say, why are they leaving? Maybe we can convince them to stay here or into our college program or whatever. And I mean, we must track them, but I just thought it's good for the board to do that monthly, continue doing it like we used to. I think it gives a lot of information. It keeps us up to date. And then we can always go on the MDE website. We've got, these numbers, and they break them out, and they do them every which way, times Sunday, of how you can break the things out, and we can see exactly how many kids are leaving us for open enrollment and how many we're getting in, if it's a wash, if our net loss or our net gain in enrollment, and we know exactly where they're going and where they're coming from, So I won't give you some for instances, but we're losing. But we're gaining too, so there's a net.
No, you're not losing.
Well,
You're
okay,
gaining
no,
kids.
okay, let's not, I don't want to do that. I'm just saying, we could see it and make some good decisions by knowing where the kids are going. Mesabi East, Mount MIB, a lot of our kids go to MIB, lots of them, 200 or so. But then we get in MIB kids too. And that would give us a lot of good information for us to know those types of things, to make decisions, to maybe increase our enrollment even further, and to try and make sure we don't lose more. Not more, but lose, okay? We want to go in the up direction,
Right.
not in the.
And as we've talked about that topic many times at the board table, and I've talked to the principals many times about this, there's all sorts of reasons why kids are coming and leaving, and we have never been able to say, this is it. It's it. If I had any great insight on that, I would dazzle you right now and tell you what that is. If the board, if you want longer and more detailed reports, we can certainly do that. But
All I'm saying is, let's just keep track. Let's just keep track monthly. We did it before, we can do it again. It's not hard because we track them anyway, and
you have an employee that this is all she does.
well, okay, so that's all I'm asking for, because otherwise, and even this, beginning of the year, October 1st, and where we are now. I mean, from what we budgeted for, these are the numbers, but then here's some actual numbers that Spencer gave us, final.
Director Sorkin, these are actual numbers.
I'm not saying they're not actual, but you said
You're
that they're what
inferring
we
these are
budgeted
not
for.
actual numbers.
She wants more specific.
That's all.
Okay, we'll give them to you, but I know, but I want
Here's this,
the community to
and
know,
here's this.
these are actual numbers.
Okay, I
These
just
are not
would
made
like
up
more
numbers.
detail. If any, where's the camera?
Absolutely, we can do that.
This versus this, okay? And I appreciate her
So they
work
can
to
see
doing
that.
this. Okay? I think
Okay,
they're
all
valuable.
right.
Okay, next one.
Oh, it's me. Next one is sequence of events for the Evel school site.
Wait, no. You skipped me a couple things.
Oh, I'm skipping it?
You want to do the sequence site?
Enroll, that's next, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. You want to cover that?
No, you can't.
Okay. Evelyn school site sequence. What you have in front of you is, you've had a lot of action in Virginia, you have had a lot of action in Gilbert, and you've got some more coming up because the demolition will start there fairly soon. We don't know exactly when, but they have a large machine that they've moved up there. When we get to the Evelyn site, we have talked about what you see here several times in the admin meeting. This is an aggressive sequence of events. I want to tell you this. And the reason why this is an aggressive sequence of events is because the slower we move on in the demo, now that we know the city of Evelyn wants and what's going to happen, there's no mystery there. If we delay this demo in Evelyn by 1 year and we get hit with 3 to 5% inflation, you easily could run into an additional $250,000 to $500,000 because of how extensive this is. So this is deliberately trying to do this in a fast, safe way that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg by drawing things out. Basically, the most important things are, we are looking, the second bullet point, we believe there should be an old-fashioned garage sale in Evelyn. And you can see the dates there. We're kind of looking at the 26th, 27th. And this is, you walk in, there's a price, you'll see a bunch of things, jerseys, bookshelves, et cetera, will be in the old gym. And it'll be just buy it, cash, buy it, walk out with it. After that one, on the third bullet point, we believe it's going to be important to open Evelyn Gilbert High School in Franklin one more time so that anyone who wants to walk through the building, they can. We did this at Virginia and we did this in Gilbert also. And that would probably occur sometime in February. Then after that, we would have DoBid would come in and do the first round of the sale items. And this would occur mostly on the Evelyn Gilbert High School side, not where North Star is, or the old Franklin building. And this would involve, and could potentially involve, built-in cabinets, door frames, because there's no mystery. There's no secret buyer who's going to show up and take these buildings. City of Evelyn, and you already have an agreement on what will happen. After that.
Can I interrupt you 1 second?
Absolutely.
Can we make sure that we're not selling anything on the DoBid or garage sale list that anybody already, like coaches, specifically coaches want or need or are counting on? Because I was already told that there was stuff that was marked for sale that was in storage for a spring practice that shouldn't have been marked.
And we've had multiple conversations with our activity directors and principals to get to Evelyn Gilbert High School and see what is actually there and walk around, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
So you're absolutely correct, Director Young. We don't want that to happen.
we don't want that to happen.
So there is a lot of activity over there that's occurring right now in the preparation for this. The next important bullet point coming up there is after that, we are going to have an official closing, meaning the public of the Franklin building. And this one we think will be run by old Evelyn Gilbert staff, some of which be in Laurentian. We don't want it run by the North Star staff because it's a Franklin closing. And it's all about honoring Franklin and closing the Franklin building. After that, we have a deadline of June 7th where we're completely vacating the Franklin building. At the time, we will strip the building down, except we've learned, unfortunately, that apparently as soon as some people find out that we've left a building, it gives them the right to automatically enter the building. They are wrong. It's still ours. We don't want them. So if you're listening, stay out of the buildings. You don't need to be in there. You do not have a right to enter any of these buildings. So.
Can I just stop for a second?
Absolutely.
Would it behoove us to have signs that say exactly that? Print off some signs? I know we didn't do that for the high school, and I personally was there when some people were trying to get in, and they didn't know who I was or whatever, but I thought it was kind of funny. They just didn't know, and they thought they could just go in. You know what I mean? Like maybe a sign would deter people too in entrances, really, because they literally didn't know it.
And we will put up more signs.
I just think that might
But
help.
we will still have cameras rolling there because that's how we catch them. We've never not caught somebody who has gone into the building. I don't know if they think they're invisible or what, but they're not. After that, we would have a second due bid sale, and this would include any other Evelyn Gilbert High School materials, but also Franklin, which would include door frames, built-ins, et cetera. That would occur in mid-June. Because we don't have enough custodians to do all this, at the same time, keep in mind, North Star is moving from Franklin to the real North Star. And so we don't have enough people to do this. So we will have to hire someone short-term to get out the last remaining stuff that nobody bought, nobody wants. It's not in good shape. We have to get it out of there. And after that, our goal is to have Evelyn Gilbert High School and Franklin completely vacated by the end of June. And this would allow you, and this spring sometime, to give us the green light to go out for bids and have companies take a look at how much would it cost to abate, how much would it cost to demo, so you can get some really good competitive bids this spring. And with a little bit of flexibility about when abatement starts and when demo can commence, because it could be, you could have abating happen over here while a demo is occurring, because this is a big site. This is a massive site. And so sequentially wise, the faster we can get out of there, the sooner a potential winning bid could get in there to start the abate, the demo, and this would involve fencing off the entire property, so that the entire property, it might come in sequences. We'll have to just kind of see how that would play itself. But this is what we're looking at right here. As far as, and I realize if you're in Evelyn, this will be difficult, but it's something that we have to do. And so I just wanted to show the board that this is just tentative, but things could change.
We voted on letting North Star end school year early, didn't we? Was that like 3 days?
3 days.
Okay.
Yep.
So when are we, so I have to ask the question, when, before we can have this, when is our hearing gonna be taking place to declare it vacant or vacating it for education?
I'm glad you asked that, Director Addy. So you do have to have an official legal closing. You had one, it was actually in here for Virginia High School and Roosevelt. So we're gonna have to do this, we really wanna do it your next board meeting at 5 o'clock. It's a public meeting, there's certain ways we have to post it. I'll go through a presentation, how we got to this point, and then anyone from the public will have an opportunity to tell you anything they want about why something should or shouldn't happen with these buildings. And then later, during the board meeting, you would vote on what you should do. And
On the January 22nd, we're gonna have the student rep here at 5 o'clock, so what would this, then now we're gonna have the official hearing to close the building. How are we gonna get all that in?
we might have to have one at 4:30 and then have the official meeting that has to start on time and be at a posted time. So that one, I'm suggesting would be at 5 o'clock. And at that same meeting then, if you vote to close those two buildings, then you would see a document prepared by the attorneys. You've already agreed to the terms between the city of Evelyn as far as how much, what it involves. You would see the actual legal document that would say, here are the terms, here's the dollar amounts, here's the dates, and it would include a update to this bizarre agreement that was made between the Evelyn Gilbert School Board and the city of Evelyn years and years ago that you've had to update multiple times over the years. That's still in force. And so that has to be taken care of in the document. You have to say it doesn't apply anymore. And so that will be in there too. So there'll be kind of an unusual part which will part of the agreement. So that will be, you can kind of expect that to be at the next board meeting also.
So Noel, concerning the last two bullets, the abatement and the demo, when are you expecting those bids to go out?
We would like to have you give the green light on the bids February, March, no later than April.
To accept the bids?
No,
They're
to
gonna
go
go
out on
first.
bid.
To go out for the bids. And obviously, the sooner we think because of the size of the demo involved and the size of the abatement, if you get it out sooner so they know about it, so they can plan for spring, fall, winter, you'll get some better bids than waiting on it. Any questions or on this topic? Okay, going on to another thing to update the board on. Remember when I keep telling you that you have more things going on than almost any other school board in the state of Minnesota and the United States? And I'm going to keep telling you that because it's true. So here we go. You have a letter from the Northland Learning Center, and they are currently renting the James Madison building, which is located in Virginia. They've been there for a number of years. They have received, through the political process, $10 million to improve their facilities or go build new somewhere else. They have been looking at their options, and you are a part of the Northland Learning Center and have been part for many years, both the old Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia and the new Rock Ridge. You just belonged for a number of years. And so they're officially telling you that they're looking at, do we stay? Do we go? Do we build new? Do we try and work out a deal to fix up the James Madison building? This is important because you are going to have presenters here from the Northland Learning Center, possibly some other individuals along, to go over a PowerPoint about what this means for you as a school board and what it would involve you. So you're going to get a presentation from them either the next school board meeting or the first school board meeting in February about what they're thinking. And you won't need to make a decision that day, but
They're going to tell us which way they want to
I'm
go.
warning you that there's something coming. And they make a decision, and it will impact you, and they will be asking you to consider certain things. So this is the first round, and let's hear what they have to say.
Are you talking some sort of financial commitment out of our school? out
There
of this
is,
district?
they will be asking for a financial commitment out of Rock Ridge. And if they do leave the James Madison building, yes, it does give you another large building that is probably unsellable to try and figure out what to do with it. But we're not there, and you probably have some options. So I just want to give you an update about what that's coming.
I have a question. So 10 million, you said to build or renovate, is that the IRRB money or is that the special legislation, 10 million?
That is the special legislation, but the IRRR is involved.
And is there a separate pot of money from IRRB above that 10 million?
That is the 10. They also changed some other legislative pieces.
That's what I'm asking.
In addition to the $10 million, because if they build new, 10 million isn't enough.
That's what I'm asking you. So the 10 million is related to IRRB money.
In its simplest way, yes.
Okay. And then I know there's new legislation that they could levy the people without voter approval for, that was the special legislation. And that's another pot of money.
Correct.
Okay, so I just want people to understand that just like we were able to levy the 13 million that became 22 million in the end, they now have special legislation to levy without taxpayer approval. And if I'm not wrong, it would be spread among the member school districts of the NLC, ALC.
It would be spread, and I'm deliberately trying not to go into details on that right now because I don't have the numbers in front of you, but every member of the NLC would have to say yes in order to access this money.
Right, that's right, but
And
that's,
so you as a board would have to say yes if that is what, but there's some options, they haven't decided yet, but this is just a heads up that you're
So-
gonna hear some additional info.
So if you left the NLC, you would have no financial obligation whatsoever.
Under that scenario, to the NLC, correct.
All right.
We would just have to figure out what to do on our own.
then we would have expenses on our own. Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Thus endeth my superintendent report.
Nothing,
Thank you. Thank you.
hardly brought any bad news.
Yeah. Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Make a motion.
Support.
By Yuhan, support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That was a no?
I said aye, I just said it later.
Oh,
But at least I said it.
okay. Policies, 11. What we're going to do here is we're going to approve all the policies together. This would be the first reading, basically, correct? Okay, so we're going to be approving 203.5, 213, 410, 413, 416, 506, 517, and 620. Can I get a motion?
I would like to pull 11.1.
Which would be 2035?
School board meeting agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to pull that one because, item D under 3, it says items may only be added to the agenda by a motion adopted at the meeting and will be reflected in the minutes. And then it's stricken out to say, it's stricken out where it says if an added item is acted upon, the minutes of the school board meeting shall include a description of the matter. And it was replaced by items added to the agenda shall be for board discussion only. Voting action on it, an added agenda item, if needed, shall take place at a subsequent meeting. And it doesn't happen very frequently, but it does happen that we need to make a decision at a board meeting. And it's happened too, in particular, where we've gotten information. We've attended many meetings on a subject, and then we have something presented at the table that we've voted on. And again, it doesn't happen very frequently, but for 203.5 school board meeting agenda, I would make a motion to approve the school board meeting agenda, but to strike out the items added to the agenda shall be for board discussion only. I would like to, voting action on an item, added item, if needed, shall take place at a subsequent meeting. I would like to strike that part out and revert back to if an added item is acted upon, the minutes of the school board meeting shall include a description of the matter.
I'd support that, it's a good catch.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we got,
So I'd like to pull that one, and if you wanna, I mean, I think I
You
just,
can do it separately.
yeah, we'll do it separately. Okay, so what you're gonna be approving is, here we go.
You have a motion and a second to,
Pull it, we have to vote on pulling it or not.
for the 205.
Okay, so we got a motion and a
To
second.
change 205, 203.5.
All right. So we got a
I
motion.
requested
by
it to be
Auditor,
removed.
But that's
to
not,
removed.
but that's not,
To be removed for discussion, and my
Okay.
discussion included an amendment to say that we're gonna revert back to what it said.
first we have to vote on to remove it.
So however you wanna go about doing that.
Okay, so we'll vote to remove 2.3, or 203.5. Okay.
For separate discussion.
For
Separate
discussion, okay.
Okay, and we had that discussion. Okay.
Well, I did, yes.
Okay, and to revert back to item D as it was, as it is written, how do you want to say that?
No, the first one is just to remove it for discussion, period.
So let's just vote on that first.
Okay, all right. All those in favor signify by aye, saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No?
Okay, so 203 passes 6-1.
To remove it
To remove it
and discuss it.
and discuss it, okay.
And I discussed what I would like, or what I said, and I'd like to make that amendment, or make that motion to approve the school board meeting agenda, policy 203.5, but under number 3D, I want to revert back to what is crossed out and cross out what was added.
Okay.
And I'll support that.
Motion by Lotiger, support by Director Yuhan to revert back to the stricken part. Okay, as you see in there. Any discussion?
And then to strike
If the stricken out,
the stricken out part.
was that
Added.
MSBA language to begin with?
And I would like, again, I said at the last meeting, I would like at any meeting, any committee meeting that takes place, if there's changes that aren't MSBA related or whatever, if we could do it in green to signify that it was a change made by our school district or board members, and or
Red,
if it was a recommendation by MSBA, then it stays red. Because it's always been red if MSBA is making a recommendation to strike something. And then, if it's, what I'm saying is if it's a school board committee or whatever, regardless of the committee, make it green so that we know it's, because again,
It's been done
MSBA has gone,
internally.
and they've had attorneys go through all of these things. So I just want to be able to know what's an MSBA change when it comes to the policy committee and what isn't.
Alrighty. And we got a motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Yuhan to go back as you described. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Wouldn't you like to hear why the policy committee made that change?
Yeah.
Go ahead, anybody? Do you have anything to say?
When things come in at the last minute, we don't have all the information that we need, so that's why we didn't want to be pushed to vote on something at that meeting, to give a little time to know more about it.
I feel like that has happened, that
Yep, that has
absolutely,
happened.
It's rare, but it's kind of unfair to like not get all the information or be able to, have more thought about it, where we have to make a split decision. And I understand kind of both parts to it, because there are times when we need to do that, but I don't think we're having 2 meetings a month, so I feel like it's not like we're just having 1 meeting a month. I feel like this is a reasonable request.
Again, on the other side of the coin though, there are meetings that we talk about a subject multiple times and then something's added at the table and we have a discussion and we vote on it. So
That's true, but there have
If we're
been
bound by
instances
policy,
where
we can't
we
do that
haven't
then.
either.
We could take it case by case. Like, oh, we don't have enough information, let's make this discussion
Correct.
only tonight. If we're bound by policy, then we can't every time. So I wouldn't put that in policy.
But in that situation, just put it on the agenda. If you've talked about it multiple times and you think it's time that we should vote on it, put it on the agenda. Why should there be a surprise like, and it has happened, and there have been very serious, important decisions that have been made that have just been put on the agenda. We didn't know that they were even coming, not Friday, not Monday, not whatever. They were big decisions. And I know a school district in the past, one of our recent, not recent, but our neighbors, they made it a policy. They said, absolutely, let's discuss things, but it's too important to go ahead and vote on something when you first heard about it, especially if it's a big, important decision. And that's the only rationale and reason for this, because it's happened and it's not fair. And it's happened, and I, for one, wanted it not to happen again.
Okay.
The other part of it says, if an added item is acted upon, the minutes will reflect a description of the matter. Well, that's no big thing. Yeah, the minutes are supposed to reflect any kind of action taken, so that really is meaningless. and that an item can only be added by a motion adopted at the meeting, we're doing that, and we're doing the second one. But it's just not fair to see something for the first time and then vote on it at the same meeting.
At this point, I should point out to the board, you just tell us what you want to do. You're going to be in a bind in August during hiring because we do bring names to you at the last minute, usually teachers. And if we can't hire a teacher until the next board meeting,
They might be gone.
they're not going to stay. They'll take a job somewhere else.
You can say contingent upon.
Well, Ed, we can do it. We're okay, but you just need to be aware of.
I do think we just gave you approval to do that anyway, so it would just be.
We did.
Yeah, so I don't, that doesn't,
Yeah, but that's
that's a
just one,
mute
that's just
point.
one scenario.
Well, that's what he said though.
Well, it is, and the reason I'm bringing it up is this happens all the time. If we're trying to hire a veteran teacher, they will not leave their district until the school board from the other district has said, yes, we'll hire you.
I feel like you're contradicting what you said earlier though. Because you just said you need that because they won't, it doesn't matter about board approval. That's why we gave you permission to give.
You're right, but I'm not, yes, it does
So I
sound
feel like it's a contradiction.
It does sound like I'm contradicting myself, but these are two different categories of beings. Teachers, veteran teachers are completely different than hiring these temporary other type of employees. You're just going to put your principals in bind in August if they can't hire someone
Okay,
during a meeting.
all right, so we got,
What about the situation that came up, one of the two that I'm thinking of? The situation came up without any previous agenda, whatever, about eminent domain. All of a sudden, that's a big subject, it's a big decision to be made, and the rest of the board had no forewarning, whether it was discussed at a committee meeting or whatever, no forewarning. And what was the other big one?
Was it the purchase of the 1404?
Purchase of the 1404 building. All of a sudden, we had all these 3, 4, 5 documents in front of us. Boom, those are the important ones that I'm saying, that was not fair for any board, not just our board.
And if the
You're
board
ta-
agrees to it at that point, they say, no, we want to discuss it only. The board can make that decision that night.
It's not fair to have those big decisions that, why, if all of these documents, it took a lot of time for attorneys to write up all these documents. You can't tell me that you couldn't have had that on the agenda on Thursday, for Friday, so we could get it Friday to think about it on Monday. We had a whole fistful of legal papers and everything, all these things worked out.
I think we all know what the problems are here, and I think we should just vote on this rather than delaying the.
And you know, Mountain Iron Buell did not have any problem when they had that policy and that procedure. They operated for years and years and years with just that language and never a problem with that. And not hamstringing or tying anybody's hands. So I can,
These are also 20
there's
minutes.
always an exception and you can always make an excuse for something, but that's the purpose right there.
But I'd also like to say that, saying that no meetings or nothing ever happened, like the eminent domain stuff, and there was never any discussions and it just showed up, I think that's unfair.
It just showed up to go ahead
I
and
believe
take
that
action.
we had closed sessions with attorneys about that, so it didn't just come up.
It did. It came up to take action on it. You can discuss and discuss, but we had no forewarning that action was going to be promoted for that. And if I remember right, even that closed meeting came at that, added to the agenda?
We never
Okay, well, fine.
we never had a closed meeting added to the
because the
agenda.
attorney was, he knew, he was here. So,
Anyway, that's the intent. I think it's a fair one. I think it's unfair if it doesn't go that way.
a motion by Lotiger, support by Director Yuan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
3 passes 4-3.
First reading.
First reading, okay, so that's just that one. Okay, so now we're reverting back to what, so we're gonna approve 213, 410, 413, 416, 506, 515, and 620 by themselves as one, as together. Can I get a motion to approve those?
So moved.
I second it.
By
Westby.
Westby? Any discussion?
I just want to make sure that these things listed on Roman numeral 3, 1 through 10.
What
Is that-
policy?
Well, that's, 213, I thought, were we taking them all at the?
All at once.
Oh, okay. Well, then I have a question about that one. Is it match the committee roster that we have tonight? That's all. It's just got to be, that's why we changed it and we added committees, because it was, the old policy wasn't reflective of all the committees that we do have. And that's,
It's only the first reading, Polly. It's only the first reading.
well, we see that
Okay.
a lot of times, and then, oh, well, why didn't you bring it up before? Now we're on the second reading. All right, then, you know what, I'll just.
Yep.
Let's
Okay.
vote on the rest of
Okay.
them all at once,
All
okay?
in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to administrative items, consider approval of a donation from Cleveland Cliffs Foundation through the fiscal sponsorship of the Virginia Community Foundation for the amount of $10,000 for the Chickadee Landing area and bilingual signage for the school forest.
Cool.
Beth, you've been waiting in your,
She took a nap.
yeah.
Did not. I don't have anything to say. I have the check. And you'll notice that the check is actually for $9,800. And that's because of the fiscal sponsorship that we had with the Virginia Community Foundation. So they took a fee from the total $10,000 grant.
Finder's fee, right?
Right?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll support.
I don't know who you want me to give
You
this.
can just get Polly and she can pass it on.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have one comment that, we've done it in the future. Maybe I didn't even think of it, but we could have moved this up
Yep.
on the agenda
Oh,
and
no, we like to make it sit.
I apologize for not thinking
For
of
like
that.
So we
3
got
hours, my
who
goodness.
made the motion?
Let's do it.
Who made the motion?
Randy,
I did.
I seconded.
Lotigers, we got support by Director Culver Dahl to accept the money. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
With thanks.
Sorry. we
Thank
were
you.
waiting
Thank
so
you.
long.
Yeah, sorry.
We won't do it again.
Approval from a quote from Hilliard for custodial supplies and equipment. Presenter Mike Hold. Mike, you awake back there?
I'm here.
All right.
Podium's up here, Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's over here.
don't rush. We got all night.
We made him wait all night.
Now you guys have what's in front of you. That is for the rest of the buildings. That is for the North Star, that is for Laurentian, that is also for the Parkview. So that is giving the updated equipment that we have in the high school. If you read through it, you can see what it is. It's, that cost that you got there is about the same with what we put in the high school alone. So it's a little bit of everything in each of the buildings.
And it's been budgeted for.
Yes.
Correct. No.
Yeah.
All of these FF&E that you're about to hear, that's where the principals are, this would have to come from the 13.5 million bond that you approved.
Okay.
That's where this would come from.
And I would make a motion to accept this quote from Hilliard.
And I will support.
Motion by Yuan, support by Lotiger. Any discussion?
My only discussion is that the minutes reflect the amount,
Okay.
and if that's acceptable.
Fine.
All right. So they'll just make a note to the secretary, the clerk or secretary that the minutes reflect the amount of this approval.
49,760.
764.87.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
12.3, consider approval of quotes for initiative interim and barley for furniture requested at Rockridge High School, Laurentian and Parkview. Can I get a motion to support that?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Reardon, support by Culver Dahl.
And to include the total cost, please.
Yes. Yes, to include the total, okay, that's the discussion part?
Right.
Okay, the discussion is to include the total amount, that the minutes reflect that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes unanimously. Consider approval of proposed land swap with Virginia Public Utilities. Get a motion to approve that.
Make that motion to approve.
by Director Yuhan, support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes unanimously. Meeting announcements, our next regular meeting will be January 22 at 6 o'clock, our next regular meeting. There will be a meeting taking place at 4:30, which will be
You'll have one at 4:30 and you'll have one at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so just let the MSBA conferences are this weekend. Hope you all can attend. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Support.
Moved by Colbert Dahl, support by Director Lotiger.
You know, I thought you were gonna say what our next meeting was? Tomorrow. That's how long this meeting seems.
Same meeting, different day?
Yeah.
Motion by Director Lotiger, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, everybody. Motion
night.
passes.